be beautiful and to have access to theater. And I was captivated. I kind of fell in love a little bit. And I said, we need to bring you out here so people know that a lot of good employees that we have and recognize. You've been at the city, I think, since 2013. So you gave us a magnificent tour of the Olympia Theater. It's a historic, beautiful property that we need to do everything that we can to maintain. And there's a lot of work that needs to be done there. And we wanted to take, at least I think Jackie and Larry and us wanted to recognize you for your great leadership, for the great tour, and to please continue the great job, because you are that instrumental first face that allows promoters and different venues to come to benefit from the access that we have here at the City of Miami. So thank you so much. It really was a pleasure, and I hope that you continue with that dedication and that passion. I wanted to, you deserve the recognition.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you. I don't know if...
So I'll just say a quick 2 words. Jackie Lorenzo with the Department of Real Estate. Junior has been operating the Academia Theater since 2014 and has been instrumental in just transforming the theater. He's now inherited the Olympia and the Marine Stadium event space and has just done a phenomenal job making those facilities work and making them operate efficiently. So thank you so much, Junior, for all the work you do.
No problem.
Again, good morning to everyone. I've only been back a few short weeks. We did have a very extensive tour of that facility, and what your team is doing over there is amazing. We are going to be investing a lot here in short order, but you guys are keeping that place up and running, and it's quite amazing. I encourage you all to go into the bowels of the theater and see what's there. So again, Junior, to yourself, Jackie, to you and the rest of the team, and I know it's not just you, as a whole group of folks that stand behind this, so congratulations.
Congratulations again. Let's get our meeting started.
Okay, thank you.
I believe we have a statement from the city attorney.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Detailed information about processes, order of business, rules of procedure, and scheduling or rescheduling of City Commission meetings can be found in Chapter 2, Article 2 of the City Code. A copy of this is available online at www.municode.com. Any person who is a lobbyist pursuant to Chapter 2, Article 6 of the City Code must register with the City Clerk and comply with the related city requirements for lobbyists before appearing before the City Commission. A person may not lobby a city official, board member, or staff until registering. A copy of the code section about lobbyists is available in the City Clerk's office or online at www.municode.com. Any person making a presentation, formal request, or petition to the City Commission concerning real property must make the disclosures required by the City Code in writing. A copy of this code section is available at the office of the City Clerk or online at www.municode.com. The City of Miami requires that anyone requesting action by the City Commission must disclose before hearing any consideration provided or committed to anyone for agreement to support or withhold the requested action pursuant to Code Section 2-8. Any documents offered to the City Commission that have not been provided 7 days before the meeting as part of the agenda materials will be entered into the record at the City Commission's discretion. In accordance with Section 2-33 F and G of the City Code, the agenda and the material for each item on the agenda is available during business hours at the City Clerk's office and online 24 hours a day at www.miamigov.com. Any person may be heard by the City Commission through the Chair for not more than 2 minutes on any proposition before the City Commission unless modified by the Chair. Public comment will begin at approximately 9:30 a.m. and remain open until public comment is closed by the Chair. Members of the public wishing to address the body may do so by submitting written comments via online comment form. Please visit www.miamigov.com/meeting instructions for detailed instructions on how to provide public comment using the comment form. The comments submitted through the comment form have been and will be distributed to elected officials and city administration throughout the day, so the elected officials may consider comments prior to taking any action. Additionally, the online comment form will remain open during the meeting to accept comments and distribute to the elected officials up until the chair closes public comment. Public comment may also be provided live at City Hall, 3500 Pan American Drive, Miami, Florida, subject to any and all city rules that may be amended. If a proposition is being continued or rescheduled, the opportunity to be heard may be at such later date before the City Commission takes action on such proposition. When addressing the City Commission, the member of the public must first state their name, their address, and what item will be spoken about. Any person with a disability requiring assistance, auxiliary aids, and services for this meeting may notify the city clerk. The city has provided different public comment methods to indicate, among other things, the public's support, opposition, or neutrality of items and topics to be discussed at the City Commission meeting in compliance with Section 286.0114 4C Florida statutes. The public has been given the opportunity to provide public comment during the meeting and within reasonable proximity and time before the meeting. Please note, commissioners have generally been briefed by city staff and the city attorney on items on the agenda today. Anyone wishing a verbatim record of the item considered at this meeting may request it at the Office of Communications or view it online at www.miamigov.com. PZ items shall proceed according to Section 7.1.4 of the Miami 21 zoning ordinance as temporarily modified pursuant to emergency ordinance numbers 13903 and 13914. Parties for any PZ items, including any applicant, appellant, appellee, city staff, and any person recognized by the decision-making body as a qualified intervener, as well as the applicant's representatives and any experts testifying on behalf of the applicant, appellant, or appellee, may either be physically present at City Hall to be sworn in by oath or affirmation by the city clerk, or may appear virtually and make arrangements to be sworn in by oath or affirmation in person at their location by an individual qualified to perform such duty. Pursuant to emergency ordinance number 13903, members of the general public who are not parties to an action pending before the City Commission are not required to be sworn in by oath or affirmation. The members of the City Commission shall disclose any ex parte communications pursuant to Florida Statute 286.0115 and 7.1.4.5 of the Miami 21 zoning ordinance. The order of presentation shall be as set forth in Miami 21 and in the City Code. Staff will briefly present each item to be heard. The applicant will present its application or request to the City Commission. If the applicant agrees to the staff recommendation, the City Commission may proceed to deliberation and decision. The applicant may also waive the right to an evidentiary hearing on the record. For appeals, the appellant will present its appeal to the City Commission, followed by the appellee. Staff will be allowed to make any recommendation they may have. Please silence all cell phones and other noise-making devices at this time. This meeting can be viewed live on Miami TV, the city's Facebook page, the city's Twitter page, the city's YouTube channel, and Comcast Channel 77. The broadcast will also have closed captioning. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam City Attorney. Mr. City Clerk?
Thank you, Chair. The procedures for individuals who provide testimony to be sworn in for planning and zoning items and any quasi-judicial items on today's City Commission agenda will be as follows. The members of city staff or any other individuals required to be sworn in who are currently present at City Hall will be sworn in by me, the city clerk, immediately after I finish explaining these procedures. Those individuals who are appearing remotely may be sworn in now or at any time prior to the individual providing testimony for planning and zoning items and or quasi-judicial items. Pursuant to emergency ordinance number 13903, those individuals appearing remotely may be sworn in at their location by an individual qualified to administer the oath. After you are sworn in, please be sure to complete, sign, and notarize the affidavit provided to you by the City Attorney's Office. Each individual who will provide testimony must be sworn in and execute an affidavit. Please email a scanned version of the signed affidavit to the city clerk at thannon@miamigov.com prior to providing testimony on the planning and zoning item and or quasi-judicial item. The affidavit shall be included in the record for the relevant item for which you will be providing testimony. Commissioners, are you comfortable with all the notice provisions set forth in these uniform rules of procedures we have established for this meeting?
Yes.
Chair may administer the oath for the planning and zoning items. Thank you, Chair. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. If we will be speaking on any of today's planning and zoning items, may I please have you stand and raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give at today's hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you, Chair.
Good morning, Mr. City Manager. Do you have any items on this agenda that you would like to pull, defer, withdraw?
Boy, do I. So everybody got a pen and a piece of
Got a
paper?
pen.
'Cause this is a long list.
Please, do it.
I'm gonna go slow.
Go
I
slow.
promise.
Remember, I'm an
I
old man,
I don't
and
wanna, I don't wanna have to
okay.
repeat myself. I
Okay.
promise I'll go slow so you guys
Is
can.
it easier just to tell us what we are taking up today?
It might be.
I had it with
might be.
these, and there's an orange one that I had.
Good morning, Madam Chairwoman, Commissioners, Madam City Attorney, Mr. City Clerk. This time, the administration would like to defer and or withdraw the following items. CA3 to be deferred to 1013. PH1 to be deferred to 1013. PH2 to be deferred to 1013. PH6 to be deferred to 1013. PH7 to be deferred to 1013. PH9 to be withdrawn. PH8 to be withdrawn. Sorry, I transposed those, but 8 and 9 are to be withdrawn. RE8 to be deferred to 1013. FR1 to be withdrawn. FR11 to be deferred to 1013. DI2 to be deferred to 1013. DI4 to be indefinitely deferred. PZ7 to be deferred to 1013. PZ8 to be deferred to 1013. And PZ9 to be deferred to 1013. That concludes the items.
Good morning. And at this time, Commissioner Russell?
Yes, Madam Chair. I'd like to withdraw FR5. That is my version of the motorized scooter program ordinance. There's a similar one on FR3, so I'm happy to withdraw mine and start working on FR3 as a co-sponsor.
Is there anything else?
No, thank you.
Commissioner Reyes, do you have any items that you would like to defer?
This time, no, I don't have any.
Okay. Commissioner DLP?
Okay. Oh, ma'am, I was looking for it and I couldn't find it. You see, I was going to wait until it came up, but I'd rather have it now. There is PH4. It came to us, and it came to me. It's in my district, and I haven't had time to look at it. I would like for a deferral until November.
Which
So I could analyze it a little bit more.
That's the brownfields.
PH4, the brownfields,
Deferral? Brownfield,
until November.
until November. Yes, sir.
And Chair, just for the record, that'll be November 17th.
Okay, yes, that'd be fine.
Okay.
And, yeah, PH, well, 3 and 4, I think they are related. Yeah,
Just, the only one is PH4 with regard to the brownfield.
Yeah.
PH3 is just a plat, a different item.
okay. Yeah, PH3 is, okay.
Okay.
Okay, FR3 and FR4, it is also FR3, FR4. But I think FR3, I think you took up, it is, FR3 is the scooters.
Yes.
Yeah, and if we are we have now RFP that is going to come up. Anyways,
Yeah, but I want to have a conversation about it, so we'll.
you want to have a conversation?
Yeah,
That is
but it's
fine.
not-
Because if we have an RFP that is around the corner, you see, what are we gonna?
But
But
I
if
thi-
you want a conversation, maybe be able to add or delete certain
Yes, sir.
things.
Yes.
Okay, that is fine with me.
Thank you.
I will.
I think Commissioner Russell also wants to have a conversation about it at some point. So I think it won't be a long conversation, but it'll be a short conversation.
Well,
Mr. Manager,
I hope it is not a,
FR 8,
and also FR4, I have a little problem with FR4. I would like to analyze how that is going to affect our tenants. You see.
okay.
I would like to have more time to analyze it.
So are you asking for a deferral for FR 4?
FR4, because I'm afraid that our tenants are going to be negatively, even though they are outside, they are not bothering anybody, they could be affected. So I would like to dig more into the consequences, because sometimes I'm afraid that we take measures and then there are unintended consequences, and then we have to go back and try to correct the harm that we're doing.
So are you asking for a deferral?
I'm asking for a deferral.
For
Well,
the next,
Hold on. Can I be recognized?
yes?
Thank you. FR4 is a Commissioner Carollo-sponsored issue.
No.
Is
It's
FR4?
co-sponsored by Carollo and
Co-sponsored.
myself.
It's
It's
co-sponsored.
co-sponsored by Commissioner Carollo. He's not here.
Okay, let's wait until he gets.
Let's wait till he gets here and see what he wants to do with it.
Okay.
Maybe he wants to have a conversation about it.
Yeah, I would like to have a. I mean,
Okay,
that is
I don't,
fair.
I don't completely disagree with you, by the way, but I think
Yes.
just as a
Yes,
matter of courtesy.
It is
we let-
fair. It is fair. Out of courtesy.
Mr. City Manager, you want to defer FR 8 to 1113? Did you say that?
No.
No?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, I just want to make sure I had that in,
I said PZ8, not FR8.
And RE,
PZ 8?
Yeah, and PH8. Those two eights are
Okay,
deferred.
and RE8.
so you're deferring
And
PZ 8
RE8.
and PZ 9?
Yes. The
Is the-
request is to 1013.
Okay, is the applicant requesting that deferral or is administration?
Administration is.
All right, just to make certain that we have everything in order, let's run that one more time.
Okay. See if I got the additional items squared away here. Okay, so here's the items as we, CA3 to be deferred to October 13th, PH1 to be deferred to October 13th, PH2 to be deferred to October 13th, PH4 to be deferred to November 17th, PH6 to be deferred to October 13th, PH7 to be deferred to October 13th, PH8 to be withdrawn, PH9 to be withdrawn, RE8 to be deferred to October 13th, FR1 to be withdrawn, FR5 to be withdrawn, FR11 to be deferred to October 13th, DI2 to be deferred to October 13th, DI4 to be indefinitely deferred, PZ7 to be deferred to October 13th, PZ8 to be deferred to October 13th, and PZ9 to be deferred to October 13th. I think I got them all.
Okay.
PZ 3, 4, and 5? Is that to be deferred?
No?
No.
No,
No.
okay.
The applicant may, but
I believe, and thank you there was a request by the applicant to defer 3, 4, and 5, and Ms. Hall is confirming.
Confirming, yes, okay.
to when?
Those are the applicants there. 3, 4, and 5?
Yes.
Yes.
Deferred until when? Until when? Until when do you want it deferred?
Until the next available. I think it's
10:13.
October 13th.
10:13.
Chair, can I get the speaker's name for the record? Sir?
Yes. Josh Remedios from the law firm of Greenspoon Martyr for the record. Requesting the deferral of items PC 3, 4, and 5. Thank you.
Got it. And you would like to speak on,
Yes, ma'am. I would like to speak on item PH4. My name is Brett Brummond with the Goldstein Environmental Law Firm, and we represent the applicant for the Brownfield area designation. And we would respectfully like to request that if the item were to be deferred, it be pushed to the next meeting or the meeting immediately following, because we are up against a deadline for the end of the year to enter into a Brownfield site rehabilitation agreement with Miami-Dade County in order to access the Brownfield incentives for this year. So we would respectfully request a shorter deferral period and an opportunity to meet with you, Commissioner Reyes, to discuss any questions you might have.
I think that I have a lot of questions and a lot of analysis and a lot of studies to do because I know that there's just a little piece of property that is created brownfield, and I had no notice of what was going to go on there. I mean, it's my district's almost in the corner of my house, and I would like to have time to. You're not going to lose your brownfield. Money if it takes a little longer. No, I know that you are in a hurry, you want to start building, but I want time to analyze this development because it's a huge, massive development for the area.
Yeah, we understand that completely. We would respectfully request perhaps to defer to October 27th.
Next meeting, it will be when? October
13th.
But October 13th, that's not enough for me.
Could we do October 27th? We will also be back here for another designation then, and then the month we can meet with you and answer any of your questions.
How about the first week of November?
As long as there's enough time to have 2 public hearings before the end of the year, we would
Yes,
gladly accept
there is
that.
the public hearings.
Okay, great, yes. Yeah, we just would like to have 2 public hearings before the end of the year. Thank you.
So again, PH4 will be deferred to November 17th. Understood.
do I have a motion?
I have a question.
Okay, Commissioner Russell put his hand up. Commissioner Russell?
You can go first, it's fine.
Okay.
On page 2, Mr. Manager, on page 2, what was the reason for, did you request that deferral? On page 2, the transfer of CDBG funding for parks.
Yes, the manager requested PH2.
Okay, what's the reasoning behind that? Or the thinking behind it?
There were some questions when we did the briefings, so there's some
Obviously,
additional,
but what were the questions?
I don't recall specifically, but there were some concerns over how the allocation was done, so,
Yeah.
so we felt like it was appropriate to defer one meeting, and then we could update and brief.
Well, I would like to, since we can't talk to each other, I would like to know what the questions are, the concerns are, before I defer
We
it.
can certainly do that offline if you like.
No, I want to do it offline. I want to do it now because I want to find out why, I may not want to defer it. So I may want to know why you want to defer it.
Yeah.
I want to know why you want to defer it.
Yeah.
You were in the briefings, right? You two, so one of you can answer, right?
Yeah, I mean, it could be discussed, and Mensa is here, we can discuss it now.
George
Okay.
Mensah, Director, Housing and Community Development. PH2 was deferred because there was issues about the parks. This is District 3's funds, CDBG funds, and there was issue about what is the best way to use those funds in those particular parks. And so we decided that it's best to talk to him again and see what he actually wants to do, the parks, and then we come back.
The commissioner wants an opportunity to reevaluate how those monies were being allocated by park. In other words, he felt like there were some other parks that might have more of a need for that money than the ones that were on the
How were
list.
they being reallocated? Were they being reallocated by the poverty level or?
No, this is all District 3.
It's all district? Oh,
Yeah,
so
this is
it
District
only
3
applies
money.
to District 3?
Yeah, this is only District 3 money.
Okay, I thought it was a reallocation across the board.
No.
No.
I thought you just gave flexibility to be used for parks, right?
Yes, he has the ability to be used
So
for parks.
he doesn't have to use it for parks, but he can, right? That's what it did, in essence,
Yeah,
right?
he
Yes.
wants to use it. I just think he's he wants to reevaluate which parks it's being used.
Commissioner-
I think what you're asking the
PH1.
right question, but on PH1.
On PH1, Commissioner,
okay,
okay?
Yeah,
I think it's PH1, yeah.
Yes.
You just
PH
got-
I'm sorry, so I'm, my
And
bad, my bad.
Madam Chair, I do agree with Commissioner Diaz-La Portilla that that should be discussed.
Right, but PH1 was also the.
PH1.
Yes.
Yeah,
Correct.
sorry, I misspoke. So PH1, so that transfer, I think it should be discussed. I think it's a good idea. And I think we should have a conversation about it too. I want to have a lot of conversations today, if you don't mind, Madam Chair.
No.
You're not in a rush today, are you? Are you in a rush today?
I am never in a rush.
You've been rushing us lately.
I am never in a rush. I am always for
Efficient.
efficiency.
Of course,
Not
efficient.
a rush,
Can
efficiency.
we have an efficient conversation about PH1 too? How about that? A
If
short,
that is the will
efficient
of the body,
conversation.
if that is the will of the body, we can have an efficient conversation about PH1. So we will not defer PH1.
And I cannot speak on behalf of Commissioner Carollo, but I'll keep it short, I promise.
Okay. So, PH1 will not be deferred. It's going to may be deferred after the conversation, but we're going to have discussion on PH1.
So we'll remove that from the order of the day.
Right. So is there anything else?
I'll make
Commissioner
a-
Russell?
Yes, I'll make the motion for the order of the day, but I would like to discuss PZ 3, 4, and 5, the medical marijuana appeals. We're going to see more and more of these, and I believe we gave direction at the last appeal to the management to start working on an ordinance, if the will is
But
there. And
the applicant has pulled it. We haven't. The applicant wants to pull.
Right, but in my briefing, I also discussed the idea that we're going to see more and more of these, and we're not setting the rules of the road, so more applications are going to come. I would like to see us work on a permanent ordinance, and I'd like to direct the management through, this is the medical marijuana appeals, and just to see if the will of the body is here to pass an ordinance that will further regulate how medical marijuana is handled in our city, and get it done. So I think the direction.
I don't know that I would want to have that conversation today,
That's
particularly
right.
because we're going into the budget hearing today
Yes.
at
Not-
5:05.
but-
This is the discussion, and this will be it, just directing them to start working on an ordinance.
already-
I'm happy to sponsor it, but I haven't seen anything in my office for the last couple months.
Well, the problem is that they're already working on an ordinance that I requested. So they're already working on an ordinance that I already requested. So it's not finalized yet, but I agree with you that.
Count
it
me in
has
as a
to-
co-sponsor.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah, we have to figure out a way to have a
Okay,
uniform.
so they're doing that, so we
have
don't
to
need
figure out a way
to.
to have a uniform
Thank you.
policy.
Yes, I agree.
So we're
I
gonna
just
do
don't
that.
think we need
Come-
to
We'll
add
go together.
discussion items.
Commissioner Russell, don't worry. We know you're a card holder, that you will be able to go and get your dose.
I'm tired of driving so far.
That's right, you're driving too far, man. You want to have it around the corner.
We need to welcome, more important than anything else right now, we need to welcome
Yes.
Mr., where are you, sir?
Barnaby.
Barnaby Mend, where is he? Did he leave?
He's quick. He
Oh,
went.
he left?
He
Well,
went that way.
He's back.
Somebody needs to
Our
grab
bar-
him. He's-
Yeah, somebody needs to bring him, and we
Yeah.
want to welcome him back to City Hall. He's
That's
been
right.
sorely missed.
Mr. Manager?
And
He's-
also, I want to welcome our city attorney from her surgery.
Yes, welcome her back.
And I'm so glad to see
I'm not too
you.
sure about her, but she's already told me I can't do two things, you know, so.
Be kind to her for once. Remember,
We're
she was
vice group
hurt.
today. Mr. Manager?
Welcome back.
I would like to discuss PZ 8 and 9. I don't want PZ 8 and 9 to be deferred.
Can I give you my reason for wanting to defer it?
Yes?
Okay, so late yesterday, through one of our briefings, we found that Brickell City Center, the owner had proffered, as part of this ongoing conversation relative to a fire station for the area, an alternate location for a permanent station, but it happened very late and without an opportunity for us to evaluate it properly. And I just feel like it's kind of such a late introduced topic or alternative that I think we owe it to ourselves and to fire to allow us the chance to have the conversation with them, because it didn't come through my office and it didn't come through the fire department per se. So I just think deferring it for one more meeting gives us a chance to properly evaluate it.
Mr. Fire Chief? Do you agree with that? I think all of the issues could be ironed out between first and second reading, but I will take your direction.
We're on second reading.
Thank you. Joseph Zaralban, Fire Chief, Department of Fire Rescue. I do share the manager's concern with in that this is something that we are currently evaluating and did come to us a little bit late in this process. So I would join the manager and ask that we do have a little more time to evaluate.
Okay.
I recognize.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Of course, you're going to agree with your manager. He's your boss, right? So you're not going to publicly disagree with your manager. The question is that this actually came last week,
Yes, sir.
right? Where they proffered a particular location for a fire station, which was a concern. Where they proffered, the Swire Group proffered a particular location. Why not? What's the problem from your perspective? Is there a problem with a particular location? I'd like to know the answer to that before I vote to defer this.
Yes, sir. On cursory evaluation, we do have concerns with the...
What are they?
The location that is proffered. It is about 4 blocks from Fire Station 4, an existing fire station. And when you consider the one-way streets that are surrounding that area and the area that we are trying to concentrate resources within for those citizens, it will take approximately the same time to respond from that station as it would from Station 4. Thereby, I would have concern that we're not truly enhancing service as we would if it were in the North Square site of Brickell City Center. But again, I would like a little more time to evaluate it.
That's your preliminary thinking, is that, right? That's not a good location because of the one-way nature of the street?
Yes, sir.
And the other location was the North Square site. Is that a better location, in your opinion?
From a response perspective, the North Square site does seem to be a better location to concentrate resources in that further north and further east area from the existing Fire Station 4, yes.
It's about a 3-block difference, right?
It's a little more than I think about a 4-block difference.
And you want to defer it just till the 13th of October, correct? Right?
I'll defer to the manager on that.
I'm asking the manager, sorry, I was looking at you, but I was asking him.
Yes.
Till the 13th.
That was the request.
Is that okay with you, Madam Chair?
Commissioner Russell?
Thank you. And I was happy with the deferral, but to hear the chief discuss the North Block site as an optimal site, that's where the original plan was, correct? The North Block site.
Yes, sir.
And currently the difficulty is that since they're not developing that under market conditions for a while, they're proffering a temporary version now that they could finish before the end of this year, and a seamless transition with continuing service into the permanent when that happens. Is that satisfactory to you?
You are correct in that the site is a temporary site. As far as the continuity of service, that is something that we have proffered to the manager, but I am not completely familiar with the discussion between the manager's office and Brickell City Center.
So, Madam Chair, from my position on the issue before us on PZ 8 and 9, if they were to proffer a guaranteed continuity of service between the temporary and the permanent, and if they were to get the temporary up before the end of this year, I'd be willing to move forward with PZ 8 and 9 today. Because if the other site doesn't work for the fire station.
It's not the end of this year. I think it's not the end of this year, right?
What I believe would be a fair compromise for this moment is that if the parties take this opportunity to discuss this agreement that you may or may not have come to, and we can address it when we get to the PZ items. We can still defer it, we can move it forward if the parties are comfortable. Is that fair?
Let's not defer it and leave it open. We'll defer it later on.
Right, that's what I mean.
Defer it, but we can still defer it back then. Yeah.
We can defer it when we get to our
Yes.
PZ items, but this gives you an opportunity to speak to each other. And if if the fire department still believes that it should be deferred because they need more time, then we'll make our decision at that time. So right
That's
now,
fair.
Have a couple of hours.
it's fair.
Talk to each other.
Gives you a while to discuss it some more.
Madam Chair, I'll move the order of the day with that removed.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have not deferred PZ 7 or 8 or 9. We'll address it again when the PZ items come up. Yes?
We're here, for the record, Spencer Crowley, 98 Southeast 7th Street. we're gonna go try to find fire right now and meet with them.
They're right
They're
behind
right
you,
here,
right
so.
behind you, right there.
But to answer your question, the temporary station will be operational by the end of the year, where, as long as we get the DERM and the WASA
Sure,
approvals.
sure,
So-
and that's gonna happen in 2 months.
Well, it
Like-
should
like- Like
happen,
Durham moves that quickly in Miami-Dade County.
it should happen quickly, we're hoping. But we could use the city's
luck.
help with that, and if we can get that done quickly, then this thing will be open, the temporary station will be open.
Madam Chair,
And that one's 4,500, is it 4,500 square feet or something?
5,500 square feet
5,500.
of land with, you know, the trailer and the parking and everything, so.
It's a full station, in essence.
The full temporary station as spec'd out by fire.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Spec'd out by fire.
Yes.
Madam-
Correct.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner?
Yes, I do understand Mr. Manager rationale and what his decision to defer, to ask for deferral. Yesterday, and I'm doing again disclosure here, it was yesterday, the day before yesterday, I had a meeting with this gentleman and on this issue. And they proffer the new site as a permanent station, that they are willing to build a permanent station. And I think that is an alternative that should be thoroughly analyzed, because I don't think that the problem here is that we want to be on Brick Hall, or what we want in that area, a fire station that will serve the area, not only Brickell, it will serve the whole area. And I believe, Mr. Manager, that alternative should be thoroughly analyzed also. And that's why I did agree with your request for a deferral. We can, if you are going to, now you're going to meet and you are going to be discussing the permanent versus the temporary and the continuity of service, you have to include in that equation the alternative site that has been offered by them, which is, it's totally detached from the building. It's going to be a standalone fire station, and I think, in my opinion, it's very interesting when I heard about it. You see, what I don't want this to become a capricious, would say, that desire to have one on Brickell or to have one in that building because you promised. No, I want you guys to analyze which one will be, which site will be more beneficial, and it will serve more people, and that is which one will be better for the city of Miami. Not for where I want to be or where I don't want to be, or these people promise they have to deliver. No. Be open-minded and analyze all the alternatives that we have. We have an alternative that is going to be a temporary, and then it will be converted into a permanent, or we can build a permanent, see, which will come faster, and I think that you will have better input. The fire department will have a better input on how that is going to be built. It's going to be built suited to what you need. And please open your mind and analyze it very carefully and take it into consideration the benefit of the city first. Okay?
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, guys. I look forward to hearing from you this afternoon. So, do I have a motion?
Chair, you already have a motion and second?
A second. All in favor to set the...
Aye.
Aye. At this time, we will take public comments on all of the items that appear on this agenda only. This agenda only. All items that appear on this agenda only. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners. My name is Clarence Davis. I'm the owner of 13 Pirates Eat food truck located it's based out of District 5. Early this year, Brightline Nana, and Miami-Dade College, they sponsored a food truck competition for chefs living in the 33136 zip code, ensuring qualifying chefs in that area are included in the expanding business culture of the downtown Miami area. I was blessed to be one of the 3 winners. Brightline has invited us to bring our food truck service to operate on their private land in order to offer food truck-style meals to their commuters and to the growing downtown population. In addition to it being great lunch or dinner for nearby federal and government employees, this amendment for 12281 will also pave a way for more businesses such as mine to create several jobs and donate taxes to local nonprofits that continue to uplift the young boys and girls in District 5. It's not too late for them, and it would be my honor. Thank you.
Congratulations. Good morning. Good morning, Vice Chair.
Good morning. Hi, my name is Amy Clement. I'm the Vice Chair of the City of Miami's Climate Resilience Committee, and I'm also a professor of atmospheric science at the University of Miami. And I live at 1766 Opeechee Drive here in the city. So first, I want to thank you all for your service to the city and your district. And all eyes are on the City of Miami as it adapts to climate change. And we are pleased to see that there are 2 discussion items on the agenda that are directed at improving the city's resilience and its infrastructure. We ask that you support the 2 items, the 2 discussion items for the following reasons. Discussion item 1 is a resolution that would have the city manager adopt a policy to consider multiple climate benefits in the design of stormwater management and flood mitigation. This presents an opportunity for innovation, and instead of focusing solely on a single problem to solve stormwater, the city could address heat mitigation, heat and stormwater monitoring, greenhouse gas reduction, and future mobility. The city has already signaled its commitment to this approach with this Resilient 305 strategy, the Miami Forever Climate Ready strategy, and the city's updated stormwater master plan all call for an integration of natural infrastructure, and this policy would affirm the city's sincerity on that. A second discussion item, number 3, to eliminate the prohibition of planting mangroves along the Miami Baywalk Greenway along Biscayne Bay. So our Climate Resilience Committee passed a resolution to amend the city's code to eliminate this prohibition. It's important for our city to have a range of options for managing the effects of climate change. And we passed this resolution so that we do not limit our options by banning mangroves in the Baywalk. We need every tool we have available.
Thank you.
I just want...
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, we would like to take up an item. I'm going to pause public comment for a second because we need to take up one item. Which one is it? The parks. Hold on one second. I'll get it. Commissioner, would you like to run point on that? We're going to pause public comment for a second. We're going to take up FR9 now.
Thank you. FR9 is the naming of a new park in the city of Miami. Thank you. Can you let the individuals that are here for FR9 know that the item is up? Just take about 30 seconds for them to come in. We appreciate everybody that's here today. Thank you. Okay.
FR 9 is the naming of a new park. In the Mel Reese area, we're going to be left with a full 58 acres. That for the first time, we will have actual, real park there. That outside of the island of Virginia Key will be the biggest park in mainland city of Miami. And I wanted to propose to this body that we name that park Jorge Mascanosa. Mr. Mascanosa is someone that many of you know. I certainly have known him when he was alive. And we had, at times, many lively discussions. He is probably one of the most unique, if not the most, I would say, unique and talented Cuban American in modern times. When I met him, I was a very young man. Now I'm not that young. Some might even say I'm an old man. I'm 67. You look at things differently when you're young from when you're old. And looking back at what he accomplished, it's amazing the things that he was able to do that up to that time, in our modern times, to the present, no other Cuban American has been able to accomplish or do. He was able to organize not just Cuban Americans, but a pro-Cuba lobby across both parties, bring in many friendly democratic nations on board to help, and brought a leadership to the Cuban American community across the world that was spread and is spread in every country of the world, just about, of leadership to have a set goal on how to liberate Cuba. That has been sorely missed. That kind of leadership, that kind of foresight, and motor trying to accomplish that. At the same time, he lived in Miami. He loved Miami. He was a Miamian that cared for our city, did many, many things for our city, and established a corporation that, with the help of his sons, has become the #1 Latin corporation in America today, Mastec. So for those reasons and many others, I think that the new 58-acre park that we're going to be having in what is now called Freedom Park, which maybe we might consider Freedom something else, so that there's only one park there. For those reasons, and so many more that I won't expand into here today, I'm presenting a motion in naming this park Jorge Mascanosa. And if I could further say this, because just like I have a lot of friends and people that support me, like Mr. Mascanosa did, we've also had detractors in different ways from time to time. And mine in particular, very lively, that there's nothing I could do that they're not going to come and try to attack me and say this all has to do with that poor businessman that's been abused on A Street somehow. Yes, well, I was a very young commissioner. We had one particular item that we had a major difference in. That doesn't detract from what he accomplished. That doesn't detract for what he did. Sadly, God took him away at an early age where he couldn't finish a lot of what he started. But I think that to acknowledge the greatness, the goodness, the accomplishments of a man, an individual, a true leader, that someone might have had a difference with in their life at one point or not. It's what all of us should do in our lives. And I am very proud today to be able to present this motion before this body, before this city, because there's a saying in Spanish, no puedes tapar el sol con un dedo. In the case of Jorge Mascanosa, it goes beyond that, which the saying is, you can't block the sun with a finger. In his case, it's going to take a heck of a lot of fingers to even come close to blocking that sun because of his accomplishments.
And Madam Chair,
Excuse me, when we're all done speaking, if we could allow Mrs.
Yes.
Mascanosa here
I was going to do that.
and anybody else that the family would like to come up and speak. I believe it was yesterday that was the anniversary of his death. So this
Yes.
is very appropriate today that we're doing it.
We have to open the item up for public comment.
I know,
So you
but
may,
I want to second it. I'm honored that it's in my district. Mrs. Mascanosa, George, I'm very honored. I think Commissioner Carollo was more than clear in what he represented to this community and to the Cuban-American community in particular. What he left, the legacy that he left with his sons, but what he did for our cause. And I just turned 58. He passed away, I believe, when he was 57. And he accomplished so much. I wish that I could have accomplished that much at 57 years of age. He accomplished so much for our cause, bringing people together, fighting the cause of liberty for our country, where we consider our country. His lovely wife is here, your mother. And I also wanted to recognize her and have her come up at the appropriate time. I'm not going to say much. I think Commissioner Carollo covered everything. We all know who your father, your husband was, what he did for the Cuban-American cause, how he made the number one issue. He made it the number one issue in his life to make sure that that would happen, that liberty would come. He never saw that. Hopefully someday we'll see it. But he fought for it like no one else. He united democratic nations. He united people. He united Democrats and Republicans. He did something that we don't see anymore, all for one cause and one issue. And I also knew him. I didn't know him as well as I would have liked to have gotten to know him over the years. I was a lot younger than Commissioner Carollo. But I saw what he did, and I followed his career, and I followed his cause, because it was our cause. And I remember my grandfather every month would send a $5 check to the Cuban-American National Foundation. And it was something that, forget all the other bills, the first thing that he did was send those $5. That's how important, that's what he meant to so many Cubans that were longing to return to a free nation. Because every year they said, next year, next Christmas, we'll celebrate it in Cuba. During the 70s and 80s, and it continues to this day that people still think that way. And we have to keep that hope alive. And that hope that your father created and your husband created, he kept hope alive. And that memory is something that he more than deserves this park, and he deserves much more than that. But to be honored today, for me, it's a great, great, great honor that it's in my district, in the district that I represent. So that's all. Congratulations, and it's well-deserved and well-merited.
Commissioner Reyes?
Yes, I welcome Mr. Carollo's naming this park. And I want everybody to know that although I voted against the project for reasons that I believe that could benefit, it would have been a better deal for the city of Miami. Never was because of, it was part of the Mascanosa family. On the other hand, I supported everything that he did because Mr. Mascanosa, he took the fight for Cuban freedom beyond the city of Miami. He brought it to the world. He brought it to the world. He traveled to every single corner of the world and met with all officials, presidents, prime ministers, and brought the message that Cuba should be free. He spent his own money. He spent millions of dollars doing that. And he did something that I never was accomplished before. He united the Cuban exile. And I always supported him. When he was attacked by the press, I publicly defended him. When he was attacked by some politicians, I always defended him because he was, in my opinion, the leader that we were missing for so long time. His death and on a untimely time, it's felt. As a matter of fact, I have spoken with many friends, and this phrase always comes when something is going on in Miami or about Cuban policy. If Jorge Mascanosa were alive, this wouldn't happen because he knew how to work. He knew how to bring the message not only to Miami, to Iowa, to France, to Latin America, every place that he could bring the cause of the Cuban and the suffering of the Cuban and the reason why it should be free, he didn't hesitate. And therefore, although I had voted against the project, I will never vote if a little piece of against naming Jorge Mascanosa a piece of Miami, because it was an integral part of Miami, and we Cubans, we have to be very grateful of him. So I will vote in favor of this.
And if
I only have one question, Madam Chair. Mr. City Manager, did you correct the address? Because you are including 1400 Northwest 14th Avenue, and that's the Grayland Park.
Yeah, we referenced that in the briefings.
Okay.
Yeah, well, that's being corrected.
That's my only question. And thank you for giving your husband to us for so many years. Thank you very much.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Russell.
Thank you very much. The original concept was the name of Freedom Park, but Jorge Mascanosa is clearly synonymous with that and quite fitting, so you, of course, have my support. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the Mas family, the Mascanosa family, because their intentions with this land and the promises that they have kept with regard to finding new green space throughout the city of Miami, everything is coming to fruition that was laid out 4 years ago. And that's why I was very proud to vote for this when it came through, not only to put it on the ballot, once the voters said yes, to then work with it on the lease. And this is just, to me, icing on the cake. I really look forward to this park coming to fruition and being open and clean and accessible to everyone in the city of Miami. Thank you.
At this time, I'm going to open public comment. If you would like to say a few words.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioner Carollo, Manolo, Alex, Commissioner Russell. Today I stand before you and on behalf of my mother, on behalf of my brothers, my family, the members of the Cuban American National Foundation, and I'm going to try to speak on behalf of my father's core value, which was to fight for freedom. First, I'm incredibly humbled to stand before you here today. As a son of a Cuban exile, I was born in Miami. My father was a very proud Miamian, but he held Cuba in his heart, in his mind, in his soul, 24 hours a day. As we grew up, you know, the conversations in our dinner table all revolved around how blessed we were to live in a free land, but that we all had a responsibility to make sure that until all people are free, especially our Cuban brothers and sisters, we cannot rest. So there's a saying by a great Cuban patriot, Martí, that says, honrar honra, honoring honors. And standing before you today in front of this gesture of naming the park after my father is, I think, an amazing tribute to him, and most importantly, to the memory of our community. Because the history of the city of Miami, our amazing city, took a significant turn for the better when the Cuban exile community sought refuge in the city of Miami. The Cuban American community, I think, has stood for amazing human values of freedom, of faith, of democracy, of building a city. Because I know when my mother came from Cuba, just to marry my father, she never saw her family again. And that is the story of the Cuban exile community. And my father started here in Miami with nothing. He was a milkman for Foremost Dairies. He worked odd jobs. I was born a year after they got married. And I get emotional because I feel that this is the history of all of us, the history of all of us who have the blessing of being the children of exiles. And, you know, it's not unique to the Mascanosa family. What was unique to our family was my father in a certain way, because he was a larger-than-life figure. I always say to many people, if he walked in this room now and you didn't see him, but you'd feel him. And I had the blessing of being next to him for so many years, and being in his car when he'd remember one day he had an outrageous idea. I just graduated college, I was at UM, we're driving somewhere. Reagan had just been elected, and my father said, we're gonna have a radio station, beam a signal to Cuba like they do in Radio Free Europe. And I remember the other board of directors of the foundation looking at my father and told him, you are absolutely crazy, that will never happen. A year and a half later, my mother and father inaugurating a radio station in Washington, D.C. called Radio Martí, with bipartisan support. So that was the odyssey of Jorge Mascanosa, always, I think, you know, fighting for what he wanted to do. You know, God took him way too young. I'm actually older than my father was at that time. But what an amazing tribute to be able to name something so that people can remember, so that future generations of our children and our grandchildren can remember what a man did trying to represent freedom and make Miami a better place to live. So I want to thank all of you for giving me the opportunity just to say thank you. So thank you.
Thank you. And I believe everyone here would like to co-sponsor this item.
I have a public comment, please.
On this item?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Under the umbrella of First Amendment free speech, I disagree with naming this park, because in reading how he was involved with the CIA, from a milkman to a multimillionaire, and for him to be part of the Iran-Contra affair, and in the end, in a Los Angeles interview, he said, I will never assimilate with the United States. My heart is in Cuba. And what we know about the CIA today, and what we know decades later of what is happening and what is being exposed, I strongly disagree against naming this park Jorge Mascanosa. Let's stop with the nepotism. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this item only? On this item only? At this time,
No, this is something that Jorge said that I'd like to add to it. It's something that adds to what he said briefly.
Okay, okay, go ahead.
I'm glad you mentioned Radio Martí, because your dad hadn't been there, that never would have happened, and then years later came TV Marti. But while you were mentioning that, my hard drive that has thrown so much out already somehow clicked in, and it reminded me of the day in La Esquina that they had on 12th Avenue, 1st Street, no longer there, an old restaurant, that President Reagan came. That's why 12th Avenue was named, and by the way, it was with my motion to Ronald Reagan Avenue. And I remember your dad, because I was in the table next to his, sitting with President Reagan. There was maybe no more than 40 people invited. I was a young kid, about 25 or so, and extremely privileged and honored to have been one of the invitees there. And we, as Cuban Americans, were so excited on the coming announcement of Radio Marti. And I remember that with some of my aides, we had a radio about like this, and we dressed it up with a Cuban flag and put the words Radio Marti on it and so on. And we had it on our table, and your dad looked at it, and he smiled, and he says, "Joe, come over here." And the president was right next to him. And of course, the minute I came, the CIA,
Secret Service.
the Secret Service, and I'm sure the CIA somewhere, hadn't checked it. And they all came to stop me from it, but the president insisted he wanted to see it. And President Reagan was extremely happy with that. Your dad was, like he should have been, extremely proud of that day. And the rest became history. So it's just something from the past and memories that when you mentioned that, it kind of clicked in and reminded me of that day.
Madam Chair, I just want to add a couple of things that now that we are enumerating the accomplishment of Jorge Mascarosa. If it hadn't been for Jorge, or for your dad and your husband, we wouldn't have had the late Torricelli. The Helms-Burton law wouldn't have been passed. And it was not only a Republican president that had signed and given all those, I will say, everything that was in favor of the freedom of Cuba. But your dad, your husband, was so convincing. They convinced Clinton to sign La Ley Torricelli law. I was and the Helms-Burton law after the downing of the airplanes. I was honored I was invited, and I met your dad at the signature of the Helms-Burton. I was there sitting, and was signed at the White House, I remember. And he was very happy with it. He was very happy and very proud. And we were very proud that that law was accomplished and has really has been like a thorn on the side of the Cuban dictatorship. And it wouldn't have been able to obtain it without the ability of Jorge Mascanosa to bring people together and convince them to do what he wanted. So I just want to add that.
At this time, Madam City Attorney, would you please read the title into the record?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to clarify that between first and second reading, we'll make attachments to depict the approximately 58 acres. It'll be probably pursuant to the SAP or the sketches with regard to the park space. So we'll make those amendments. And I also have to say approximately at the addresses that I'm about to mention now. So those are the changes that we're doing. An ordinance of the Miami City Commission naming the parcel of land consisting of approximately 58 acres of land within the properties located approximately at 1400, 1500, 1515, 1550, 1600, 1800, and 1822 Northwest 37th Avenue, Miami, Florida, as Jorge Mas Canosa Park, amending Chapter 38, Article 1 of the Code of the City of Miami, Florida, as amended, titled Parks and Recreation in general, by creating Section 38-33, titled Naming of Jorge Mas Canosa Park. Further, directing the city manager to take any and all actions necessary to effectuate the naming of the park containing a severability clause and providing for an immediate effective date.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Chair,
Can
come up here. and
we
put
get a
picture?
picture with Mrs. Mascanosa, Irma, and Jorge?
Yeah, Jorge. Come up here.
Jorge, if you could.
At this time, we will resume public comments. Good morning.
Good morning. That was quite a story to follow. It's quite amazing and truly well-deserved, in my opinion, anyway. What I'd like to discuss pales in comparison, but it's nonetheless quite important to all of us. My name is Morton Ehrlich. I reside at 1000 Venetian Way. I'm president of the 1000 Venetian Condo Association. Sponsored by Commissioner Ken Russell and Commissioner Joe Carollo, I'm commenting today in support of FR4, Ordinance 12215, to remove the literally time-worn noise exemption on city leased property. You know, times have really changed. Population density has shifted and increased, and now when combined with the improved technology of sound and speaker distribution systems, especially what we call bass and sub-bass noise, the disruption of what had been an established quality of life for so many more people now is quite serious. It's truly a time for both recognition. Of course, we just recognize the ultimate, but at least in our case, it's time for both recognition and change, as Commissioners Russell and Carollo have clearly recognized. I can speak specifically to the extreme noise from Joya Beach Club on Watson Island. Just about a football field away, across the narrowest part of the channel between Watson Island and Venetian Causeway. Joya, the beach club, opened in 2020, located on Watson Island, with operating hours between noon and 11 p.m. It's closed several days of the week, but open on weekends, Friday through Sunday. And on these days, the noise, the music, and the bass and sub-bass sound is truly outrageous. It's just impossible to live there.
Until what time?
Thank you.
Until what time are they open on weekends?
Legally, they are allowed to be open until 11 p.m. As a practical matter, you don't want to be near that place at midnight. But
Joya.
I have to add that very often,
Sir.
by personal messenger,
Thank you, sir.
we've sent
Sir,
Commissioner...
thank you. Your time is up. I have to allow everyone else. Your 2 minutes are up.
My 2 minutes are up.
Yes. Sorry.
I need 30 seconds.
No, I have to go with my next person.
Well, anyway, thank you for
Thank
the
you.
time, and thank you for the opportunity
Thank
of
you.
hearing the previous discussion.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ms. Chairman, Chairwoman, and Mr. Vice Chairman, and Commissioners. Thank you for your time. My name is Clifford Mermel. I've been a resident of Miami, Florida for 59 years. I'm also an attorney, went to University of Miami Law School, as did my father and my 2 sons. I'm here as a homeowner today with my neighbors Massimo Fortunato and Diana Monaco, who both have donated their time to me to speak this morning. We are challenging PZ6. We believe the process for this development is fundamentally flawed and unlawful. We challenge the legality of the process that authorized it because the city departed from the express requirements of the city zoning code and comprehensive plan by entering into a settlement agreement which waived the mandatory public notice and meetings, an opportunity for public comment otherwise required for approval. As a result, at multiple junctures, members of this community were not given their due opportunity to raise legitimate questions, present evidence, and have their concerns properly considered. This hearing today, you might argue, but it is too little too late. It is our position that the settlement agreement and the development approvals, orders, permits, or other authorization issued by the city should be void and ab initio and ultra vires, and they are unenforceable. I've lived in my home for 6 years. The selling point of my home was, one of the main selling points was a beautiful forest of over 60 Australian pine trees in my backyard. I watched hawks put their nests up there, and I enjoyed the natural beauty of these pine trees. I have learned that they are an invasive species, but I've also learned that with proper notice, people have objected to them being cut down and have been successful with that objection. On September 6th at 7:30 a.m., I was awoken to the sound of violent chainsaws cutting down 61 Australian pine trees. We were not provided with notice. My neighbors were outraged. We went over and tried to stop this, but it couldn't happen. 18 days later, we were provided with a notice of this public hearing talking about the construction of an 8-story building directly in our backyard. This building will tower over our houses so that the neighbors will be able to look down into our pools and our outdoor showers. It is absolutely outrageous. We object on several bases, including that is the destruction of natural beauty, the destruction of a natural ecosystem, the reduction of enjoyment of viewing and experiencing nature, the reduction of the value of our homes, the reduction of the privacy of our backyards, the blocking of sunlight, moon viewing, enjoyment of nature, increase in noise pollution and dust during construction, increase in traffic and population density. We ask, at a very minimum, that this project consider another location for the construction. There are places on this property where they could construct this building so that it does not interfere with our enjoyment of our homes. We also ask that they should be required to plant at least 60 large native trees to replace the forest that they cut down. And they should have to create a reasonable privacy buffer between the property that they are developing and our homes. And finally, compensate us for lost property value. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Janina Botero, and I live at the 1000 Venetian on the Venetian Islands. I am the neighbor of Watson Island and Joya Beach Club. And I'm here to approve ordinance 12215, supporting the removal of noise ordinance exemptions on city lease land. Today is Thursday, and unfortunately, I don't know if my family and I are going to be able to sleep throughout the weekend because of the noise issues that are going on the island. Last weekend, it was a total nightmare. It was from Thursday till Saturday, starting at 8 p.m., sometimes at 5 until 3 a.m. Not only Joya, but also other events happening at Watson Island. My son and I had to go to sleep to my walk-in closet, and I don't think that's the lifestyle that we want, that we were looking for. It's I called the police, and they even feel bad for us. So I'm really asking for you guys you can come anytime, any weekend, come listen to the sound. You'll notice you are not able to eat, you're not able to sleep. This is no joke. It's not about me having not even a quiet time. It's about us as a family being able to having something basic as sleeping. That's it. We're not asking for more. So that's my comment and my request to you guys.
Ma'am, I was at Maurice Ferre Park a couple of weekends ago, past midnight, and there was a tremendous loud music that you could hear in the park. And to my surprise, where it was coming from was right where you're saying, in Watson Island, whatever this place is called now. And I just thought about at the moment that if I could hear it all the way in Maurice Ferre, the opposite side, so far away, I couldn't imagine, and I can't imagine, what it's like right across the water where you live at.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. Elvis, do you need some time? Good morning.
Hey, good morning. So my name is Daryl Mendez. My address is 8252 Northeast 3rd Court. I'm speaking here on PZ2. Really happy to be here to support the endeavors of Pelican Harbor Seabird Station moving into their new location. That new location is actually 1 block away from where I live. I walk my dog right in front of the property pretty much every day. I'm glad that the land is being put to good use and also being made for a good cause. The new location is going to provide more space for all of the patients that they've been getting. They've had an increase of 275% of new patients annually. They're now serving about 2,500 patients per year. And that added space is going to be necessary in order to provide space for those animals. They are Miami's only native wildlife hospital. They have been serving the community now for over 42 years, and they are deeply respected and one of Miami's most beloved nonprofits. So delighted to be their future neighbor and hope that the city is in support of their efforts of caring for wildlife in our community. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, commissioners, ladies and gentlemen in the audience. My name is Nathan Kurland, 3132 Day Avenue, Coconut Grove. A patient said to his doctor, "Doctor, I think I'm shrinking." And the doctor replied, "Sit down and be a little patient." FR 10 is something I cannot be patient about. As a board member of Scenic Miami, board member of Scenic Florida, 11-year member and signatory of Bayfront Park, I have to speak in opposition to FR 10. Over the past several years, the City Commission has opened the barn door to an industry that has little regard for our natural beauty and quality of life. Advertising on barges, planes, buildings, everywhere you look, advertising. Foray and Bayfront Park are signature parks for the City of Miami. If you allow FR 10 to pass, what would be the eventual result will be parks full of advertising. Please, Commissioners, vote in opposition to FR 10. Thank you.
Thank you. Elvis, no. Good morning.
Good morning. Madam Chairman and Commissioners, thank you so much for this time to speak on today. My name is Latoya Williams-Shelton. I am an attorney out of Jacksonville, Florida, but I come to you to speak on behalf of Mr. Richard Anderson, who is property owner, and RE1 is the item on the agenda, and that property address is 1030 Northwest 45th Street. That address has been noticed today for a notice of mitigation before you for a $944,000 lien that was placed on this property as a result of some issues that came about with code enforcement. It was deemed an unsafe structure. The city did incur costs demolishing it and also land clearing liens as well. I could give you several excuses. Mr. Anderson is not a native of Miami. His aunt was. When she became ill, he did move her down to Gainesville with him. He's been taking care of her. He's had several different health issues himself. He is present here today, sitting in the back as an amputee and also someone who was actually near death. The city had a P.O. box address on file for Mr. Anderson, so he was not receiving those notices. Once he received the foreclosure action from the city, we have been working with the city attorney, since that time, and Mr. Anderson has paid a little over $20,000 in costs, covering and curing all of the costs that the city has had to pay out on his behalf for this property. On today, the prayer and the request is that the city mitigate that $944,000 lien to something that is reasonable so that Mr. Anderson and his family can continue to keep this property, if not sell it or do whatever they wish with it. And that is the prayer for today, and I would hope that the commission would consider it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Elvis, are you ready?
As soon as they put me on the screen, I'm ready. Have to switch it in the back. Okay, there we go. Thank you. Elvis Cruz, 631 Northeast 57th Street. Regarding discussion items 1 and 3, mangroves have benefits if they cover a large area, but a narrow planting of mangroves along a shoreline will not protect from storm surge. An FIU scientist said that even 1 mile of mangroves will not significantly decrease storm surge. Example, the distance from the Dade County Courthouse to the seawall in Bayfront Park is 1 kilometer. If that kilometer was a mangrove forest, it would decrease the height of the storm surge by only 9.4 centimeters, which is the height of this paper that I'm holding in my hand, an insignificant benefit at an enormous cost. Nor do mangroves prevent erosion. Here's a picture from the state of Florida showing mangroves destroyed by Hurricane Irma with much coastal erosion. The picture speaks for itself. Mangroves cannot defy the laws of physics. Planting a narrow row of mangroves does nothing. It's a token for the look, but it would block the public's view of the bay and create regulatory problems. Bay walks exist so people can walk along the shore and enjoy the view. Here's what you recently did at Alice Wainwright Park, a seawall at the shoreline so the public can enjoy the view. Wonderful. Here's Albert Pallet Park, also a seawall at the shoreline. Logical. Here's what the Bay Walk for Morningside Park should be, the same design with a seawall at the shoreline, just like you did at Wainwright and Pallet. This is common sense. But instead, the plan is to have a large, low-lying area of 3-foot-tall marsh grass that would surrender the waterfront to flooding, with the seawall set back 23 to 77 feet. This makes no sense at all. Please, change the proposed design for Morningside Park to this traditional Bay Walk design so the public can enjoy the entire waterfront. Thank you, and there's more detailed information in my handout I'll hand out now If anybody has any doubt about what I've said, please challenge me. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm here on RE2. My name is Brad Friedman, representing Damale LLC. This is a motion for mitigation of a code enforcement lien in the amount of $63,250. The address is 3639 Northwest 15th Avenue. I want to provide you with a brief background of this property. It was purchased by Rivera Property LLC in October 30th of 2014. The property was not in excellent shape at that time. It was also subject to a previous lien that was CE 2011-010177. This lien found the owner guilty of vacant, blighted, unsecured, and abandoned structure. Rivera Property LLC worked to resolve the violation and have the lien released, which included cleaning up the trash, mowing the lawn, securing the structure, and painting. And it was released on December 28th, 2017.
Okay.
And while the owner was taking these necessary steps to resolve that violation and bring the property into compliance, another lien was recorded, and that's the lien we're here for today. That's graffiti was found on the property. The owner purchased the property with the intention of bringing it into compliance and thought he had done so when that prior lien was released. He doesn't recall receiving notice of this specific graffiti violation. And it's just strange to my client that when he went to release the lien back in 2017 for the prior violation, this graffiti violation wasn't released at the same time, since it both involved similar type violations of disrepair to the property. The property was then conveyed to my client, Damale LLC, in 2020. My client is in the process of applying for a permit.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Thank you. Your
Okay.
time is up.
We ask for your consideration and
Thank you. Good morning.
Good afternoon. My name is Rene Luis. I'm here representing for PH 8 and PH 9, and I'm a board member for the Bay of Pigs Museum. I'm here on behalf of my father.
Sir, that item has been withdrawn.
We know it's just a public comment that we wanted to make.
okay.
We please had 1 second.
Okay.
What we wanted to say is that forget about what you may or may not have heard in newspapers, etc. What we wanted to make was an official statement as to what we feel about Commissioner Carollo and how he has been a staunch supporter for our group, and we welcome that, and we continue that, and we can't say enough about how much he's done about our group and the people that he represents in the area.
I appreciate that very much, but frankly, I don't need defending. Especially, I said that I appreciate very much your statements, but I don't need defending. Since a little boy, I've always was taught and I've learned that into any fight that I get into, count on myself, me and I, to be able to get me out of it. And that's done me well in life,
Mr. Commissioner.
Because many times people go into things thinking that someone's going to get you out of something, and that's where you get stuck.
Let me
I
say
never go into that. In that
we're
fashion.
not politicians.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is that because some paid, bought-for blogger that is paid constantly to attack me or others in this commission or the mayor, I'm not giving that the time of day. So I appreciate you here and the statements that you've made, but you know, I don't need any defense. I do things out of principle, whether right or wrong. They're out of principle, and
we're not saying that to defend you. We're basically speaking the truth. And what we need a museum in that area. We want to keep the memory alive of the brigade members, those that are still alive and those that have passed away, like Jorge Macanosa. And we're going to fight for it, because this is for my dad, for our father, and for all the brigade members. So they're a huge part of the city of Miami's history. And please, we need your continuing support for this, and we'll fight anybody. We'll stand up, because this needs to be fought for, and we believe in this. And this we're doing for my father, our father, and all the brigade members. Many of them are passing away, and we want to make sure that this gets done before they leave this earth. We want them to see this through. And I'm telling you, this is very passionate to my heart, my brother's heart. We're a family of 7. We grew up just like him, Oremacanosa, with nothing in this country. And we came here and fought, and we've grown. And what these men have done and meant for our families and for us, it's all over this community. They've been a great, great inspiration for us, and I can't say enough about that. So please, what we came here to say was just to tell you that what you hear in the papers about statements that the Bay of Pigs may have made or nothing, it's not the facts. We support Commissioner Carollo and all the support, because when it's April 17th, and all the big hoopla for other places that happen, all parties and everything, and April 17th, the time that matters, when they all meet there by the torch, Commissioner Carollo is always there. And they're there, and they mention the names of everybody who's passed away, that fought in the war and died, and they all say presente, to remember them. So please, that's all we wanted to say.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam King, Chairwoman, Madam King. I would just like 2 minutes in regards to the PH8 and PH9. My name is Carlos Luis. I'm Vice Chairman of the 2506 Museum and Library. And I don't want to go over what my brother just said. We echo or support him 100%. Just wanted to make sure that we stand by Commissioner Carollo, who, like my brother said, has been there every April 17th. Let me also add that we needed 13 parking spaces to keep that museum going. And you bet you the next day he was there making sure we had those 13 parking spaces. We don't forget that. We don't forget that to find the space where we're looking to move our museum, the PH9, Chairwoman King, we met with Chairman Carollo at 9 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, on a hot summer Saturday, and walked miles looking through places to put our museum, right? Finalizing on that location that's noted on PH9. We won't forget that. So again, we thank everybody's involved. Manolo Reyes has also been a tremendous supporter of the brigade. We don't forget that as well. And we thank you. But like my brother said, we need to make sure that their legacy doesn't fall in our hands.
Thank you.
Thank you. We need your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, I've got it, your brothers. This item is not on the agenda. I allowed him the deference, but it's not on the agenda. It's not before us, so I'm going to ask that.
Just going to say a word, Sept of the Bay of Pigs.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you.
To George Carollo, you defend your battle,
Ma'am,
even
you
if they are
spoke
with.
You spoke already.
No?
Yes, you
This
did.
is a specific item.
Ma'am, we had public comments, and you were
For
up.
that specific item,
Ma'am,
and then you said you could make the
Ma'am,
comments.
we're not having you come up 3, 4,
Once
5,
again, I'm not
6.
being allowed my free.
Is there anyone else here for public comments? Seeing, sir, are you coming for public comments?
Wanted to speak on, my name is Alex Villegas. I wanted to speak on DI4.
Sir, can you put up your microphone?
Sure. I wanted to speak on behalf of the homeless, just to remind you that the homeless are human beings as well. We're all one and mirrors of each other. We are your mothers, your fathers, your brothers, your sisters, your daughters, and your sons. Not everyone can function in such a high pace and what is most of the time a toxic 9-to-5, money first, people last society. I ask that instead of seeing the homeless people as a nuisance and as a problem in Miami, that you take a moment to clear your eyes and ask yourself, how would I help my own family in need? How can I integrate them into society instead of trying to hide them away? We're all beautiful souls having a human experience. We're all children of God, and we're equal. And I'd like to thank you and just to hear that today.
Thank
Appreciate
you. Thank you. Is there anyone else here for public comment? Seeing none, the public comment period is now closed. For my colleagues, may I have a motion for CA 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6?
Motion?
Second.
At a second, is there any appetite for discussion of these items? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Commissioner Reyes? Motion carries. Okay, we are now on the PH items. May I have a motion to pass PH 1, 3,
One was deferred, I believe, or,
1 was deferred?
No, it was.
Chair.
No,
it-
it was, but then it was
You wanted to
released
discuss it.
because we didn't want to defer it without you.
okay.
Would you like it deferred?
Is the administration recommending this, Mr. Manager?
I believe it
Yeah,
was,
I proffered it as a deferral.
right, but I believe
Okay.
that Commissioner Diaz de la Portilla wanted to talk about PH.
No, he said he wanted to give him an opportunity because,
That was a
Okay,
different item.
that's, this is the 2 million that's being transferred from parts from the coronavirus, CDBG money. Okay? Look, I'm not going to stop other projects from going forward, but I just want to put in the record, Mr. Manager, just because my staff is not on top of people in this department all the time, and, you know, we don't bite, doesn't mean that, you know, we are naive to what's going on. There's not a penny out of this money that's going into District 3, not one penny. District 3 is the district, out of all the districts in the city, that has the least amount of parks. Now, I don't care if some of the people that work there like me, my staff, or not, or they're more afraid of someone else, because we're very nice to them overall, just express their opinions. But, Mr. Director, understand I'm not a punching bag, and this is being taken from the people of a district that have the least amount of dollars for parks and have the least amount of parks. So if you want to see another side of me, keep that up, and I promise you, you will see it.
I have some concerns about this item, and I expressed that, and I believe that's why administration put forth to defer it. If you have some, I have some concerns about how the money is divvying up, and I'd like some more time to
Agreed.
meet with staff to go over this.
I'll move for the deferral,
So,
Madam Chair.
yeah, so that was the purpose of the deferral.
Right.
Was because there were questions, and I think there's some uncertainty, I think, amongst our elected body in terms of the
So
time
I have a
sensitivity.
motion and a second for a deferral. All in favor?
October
I'm
13th.
sorry, Chair, who was the seconder?
Second.
October 13th.
To October 13th. Okay,
And
so
I'm sorry, the vote?
unanimous.
Unanimous?
All right. So now we have PH 3. Can I have a motion for PH 3,
Motion.
PH 5, PH 3 and PH 5?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Which now brings us to our RE items. Do I have a motion to pass RE 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, and 10.
So moved.
I'm sorry, Chair.
Wait,
RE1, RE2, and RE3 all have blanks in
Yes.
the resolutions. I believe there needs to be some,
there needs to be hearing.
Right, so for RE 1, 2, and 3, these are the hearings on the mitigations.
2 are in my district. Don't we need but we can have a motion and then we can have discussion, yes?
Let's separate them.
Right, so you would need to take
So I
them
will
each.
separate RE 1, 2, and 3. Do I have a motion to pass RE 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, and 10?
I move it.
Second.
It was properly moved and seconded.
Chair, respectfully, we could discuss 7 briefly,
Okay, so we'll pull out
and
7.
and look, I think the intention is well.
Let's pass the ones that we
Okay.
can pass.
All right.
So may I have a motion for RE 4, 5, 6, 9, and 10?
I'll move it.
All in favor?
and Chair, RE6 and RE10 need to be amended.
As amended, I'll move it.
As amended.
There were substitution memos sent out on both of those.
Okay, as amended. Motion carries unanimously.
Okay.
Now we will have discussion for RE 7.
And this really goes to this item and the other one that we've had, I forgot the number.
FR2?
Where the mayor and I both sponsored it, to use 25% for affordable housing. Now, affordable housing is something that is the biggest demand that we have in the city, bar none. And whether it's today or 5 years from now, 10 years from now, I don't foresee it changing. My only concern is that I don't know when all these projects are going to come into being. It might be that quite a few of us, maybe all of us, might not be around when it comes to fruition. And we're spending, or should I say, allocating dollars way ahead before they even come, and not knowing in those years what kind of needs are we going to have. And that's the only thing, But Chair, if you want to move
Right,
with
I've
it,
considered
I'll
that.
support it.
I've considered that, and for me and for District 5, this transcends me. This allows every commissioner that comes after me to make sure that the work that I've started in District 5 continues, and particularly for the areas where we don't have amounts of money that just come to the district. So this money can be used to continue funding summer jobs for our youth, to continue programs and services for the elderly when there's a shortage. I know that we can continue to serve our community. I can put that money toward housing and economic development, small businesses where I see the need, and then the commissioner that comes after me, because this is 99 years of opportunities to make D5 great.
Well, but it's not only D5, it's being spread equally.
And it's being spread equally because it will assist all of us in serving our community. But it was the thought to have it for all of us.
Number one, is it being split equally?
20, yes.
Well, some areas are more impacted by the development than others, right?
No, it's not.
No, it's based on API, not.
So it's not equally, right. Based on API, which is the right thing to do, I think. But on top of that, on top of the API funding formula, there's also the fact that there's immediate impact in a particular district. Again, I won't be around, but whoever replaces me, that person has to deal with the traffic and the other things that
some of the negative consequences. So to me, to have an equal distribution is not something I'm in agreement with.
It's not equal. It's
Well,
based
no,
on
no,
poverty.
but it shouldn't be on poverty, because obviously, your district has the most poverty, right? So that's why you're getting more, but the district that's the most impacted physically is mine. So, we had the same debate when Commissioner Russell took $5 million for a bay walk all the way to the other side, and not for what, the area that's impacted in front of where the stadium is being built and where the development is being built, remember? So, this idea that you distribute the money to different places based on a particular formula, even though it impacts one particular area more than another area, is a little bit concerning to me. So, especially for a 9 year, I think it's 28 million, right? Something like that, total, 28 point something million. So to me, I think there should be more weight given to the immediate districts around, District 1, maybe District 4, right? That are impacted because of the development itself, not because of the API. The API obviously favors your district because you have the highest.
Actually, if
Formula.
the staff could give the numbers,
I know the
you'll
numbers.
see that
I
it
know
is.
You're
there's-
number 1, I'm number 2,
Okay.
he's number 3 close.
And
He's
based
number
on-
4.
right,
and
but based on your,
and he's a hard.
based on the argument you're making, District 5 has the most development as well. So either way, I win.
You always win. You're the chairwoman. But I think this, what I think, in all seriousness, I think that this deserves a little bit more conversation, to
Can
be honest with you.
can I enlighten everybody a little bit?
Mhm.
This is a resolution that a future commission
Can change.
can change.
Of course, of course.
Like that. So
Exactly.
But I still wouldn't want to vote for something that would impact my district adversely, right? That's,
It's not adversely impacting your
well,
district.
it won't be impacted until you receive the money.
Right.
That's still
Or don't
very
receive.
many years away.
Right. So, do I have a motion
I'll move the
Why
item.
not?
and a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
RE7.
You see, you always win,
Let's keep it that way.
for now.
She's got a guardian angel.
All right, we're going to take up RE1 now. Anderson. Is anyone here on behalf of RE1 mitigation for Anderson? Have you reached a settlement with the city attorney's office?
Yes, we have.
You have. Madam City Attorney?
Good morning, Deanna Rasco, Senior Assistant.
Good morning.
Can't hear you.
Sorry. Deanna Rasco, I'm with the City Attorney's Office, Assistant City Attorney. We did speak prior to this hearing.
I'm sorry, Chair, we're having a hard time hearing the speaker.
Deanna, put the microphone closer there.
You need to get a
Sorry.
mask on.
I apologize. Deanna Rasco, Senior Assistant City Attorney. We did in fact speak. This is currently in litigation. Would you like a background at this point, or would you would prefer
No,
closing
I
counsel?
have the background. It's my district. I don't know if my colleagues need it.
What is owed? Or
What is
How
owed?
much are they giving us?
Okay, for history speaking, the lien is currently $944,000 for, the violation is for outside failure to maintain lot in a safe, clean condition, allowing debris, trash, and growth. They have, the structure was demolished. They paid the city $23,741 for the demolition lien, court costs, and attorney's fees as of today's date.
Okay, they pay the city 23,000 plus for the demolition.
For the demolition and lot clearing liens. And the value of the property is $145,796 pursuant to the Miami-Dade Property Appraiser's Office.
Which means it's probably 300,000 or more.
$145,000.
It's a vacant lot.
Yeah, but
The
still,
property
I'm
was
saying that
demolished.
If they have it at that, it's probably worth about 300, maybe more, in real life.
So what is the proposal, the settlement?
That we have not reached a settlement. We're before the board, the commission today to discuss.
Oh, I'm sorry, Madam Chairwoman, when you asked about settlement, I meant as it relates to the foreclosure action, not as it relates to the
Okay.
code enforcement lien.
So what are you, we talked in our briefing, and we came up with a number. I thought they were going to articulate that number to you. Okay. So during our briefing, I got a briefing on all of the facts and what has happened. And based on what is owed, we thought $25,000 to settle the matter clean would be fair. Is that amenable to you?
And that is just on the code enforcement lien?
No,
That is
that's
not-
everything.
So that does include the $23,000 that's already been paid?
No,
Okay, so just $25,000 to settle?
yes.
I mean, I'd have to speak to the client. It's his property.
Right.
He's
We-
already paid $23,000.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I
Well,
know-
that I can't waive. The $23,000 covered the cost of the demolition.
Correct.
So these are the fees that have been incurred is $945,000. I understand that the property is now worth maybe $140, the land, and this $25,000 is 3% or less than what is owed. So if you could take that back to your client and you can come back after you've spoken to him and we'll just move on to the next item, okay?
Yes, Madam Chairwoman, thank you so much.
Thank you. RE1,
May I ask you really quickly, Madam Chairwoman?
Yes.
I believe that I read something, and pardon me, because I am a Jacksonville attorney, I'm not a Miami attorney. I believe that I read something that if we do agree to this, that payment would be due in 30 days, is that correct?
I could maybe work something else out. We could be flexible with that.
Okay, thank you so
Okay?
much. Okay.
Yes. And the next one, RE2, is Damao. Is someone here representing?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Can I ask a question, Chair? Is the law department making sure that either individuals, but even more so corporations, that you check in who appear as the officers in the corporation, and then you check other corporations that we might have problems with that are similar, so that we don't have cases that might come up of serial offenders? And, you know, usually where you run into that problem is for corporations, but individuals, obviously, you see the names, they pop up. So are we doing that?
Well, typically, when there's an individual in a lawsuit, all cross-attaching liens do appear in the complaint. As for this particular case, Commissioner, they were not the violator. They acquired the property after the violation, but I certainly can speak to...
But see, this is where I'm going. I heard that before from the gentleman, they were not the violator, but they knew what they were buying. They knew that property had problems, therefore, they got it like so many. They're out there buying properties at a very low price because, for the most part, they're buying it from people that didn't know how to defend themselves, or they got to a point that they owed so much they thought were lost. So they bought it figuring that they could buy it real low, and they could come to the board, now to this body, and wipe everything out, and then they got a heck of a deal. So the stuff and the story, this is there before they bought it. To me, it doesn't fly. Show me what they paid for it at the time, and then I'll give you an answer.
I'm going to defer to District 1, as this property is in District 1.
I think the gentleman wants to address the commission.
He did already in public comments.
Well, he can again.
Well, he can again. If I ask him to, you defer to me, right? So I'm deferring to him. Is that okay?
I'm leaving it up to you, yes.
Thank you. Sir?
Right, and the point I was trying to make during the public session was not that they purchased this property with this particular lien. They purchased the property back in 2014 with a prior lien, which they resolved. During that time of resolution, another lien popped up, which was almost very similar to the lien they were in the midst of resolving. They thought they had come into compliance, yet then they were served with this foreclosure. I've been working with Ms. Rasco since to come here to address this and mitigate the fine and move on. Because they're in the process, they've applied for a permit, they cannot move forward because obviously there's liens on the property.
So what's the agreement?
We have no agreement,
You don't have any
Commissioner.
agreement?
No, the only thing I would
Why
convey
not?
is that the lien is $63,250, and the property value is $127,000. This is for graffiti. His client has paid $21,252 for a demo lien.
So
and
go
special
go slow with the numbers. What's the value of the property?
The value is $127,000.
27. They paid 21.
Correct.
Okay, plus 21 and some change. Okay. For graffiti violations
Graffiti on the property,
on the
yes.
property.
But then the
That was a
property-
violation.
Right.
That was the only violation. And it's
Right.
been accruing over a period of time.
Right.
So what was the original fine?
$63,250.
Right, on a property that, well, let's say it's worth 250, it's 127, let's say it's worth 250, right? Something like that. 63, that's excessive, so I think, for a graffiti violation, it's not a, building.
Commissioner, there are other violations. He's going to highlight those.
Well, okay, that's
So it's
important.
not just graffiti.
Good morning, sir. For the record, Robert Santos-Lavorna, Co-Compliance Director. It's not only graffiti violations. There was
what are
also
they?
failure to maintain lot in safe, clean condition, junk and trash, et cetera, et cetera. So you had, not only graffiti, where the respondent is victimized by graffiti, but you had other violations.
Right.
And it's not the same. This happened afterwards.
Then take a step back.
Yes, sir.
Tell me what the other violations are, and tell me what the fines are for those violations vis-à-vis the fine for the graffiti.
The previous
Because the
ones?
graffiti is not their bad, right?
Understood.
Okay.
So the other violation that run.
The $63,000.
Yes, sir.
How much for the graffiti violation?
No, the violations are
Well, I mean-
run concurrent. So meaning that once we identify there's a graffiti violation, and then the respondent was also cited for failure to maintain the lot in a clean, safe condition with junk and
That
trash.
results as, that's a result of the graffiti violation, right? Because
That
failure to
is-
maintain the lot is that they didn't fix the graffiti or didn't fix whatever somebody else did to them.
I can't say it's a result of.
There's a
I'm
difference,
saying-
in my opinion, between what someone does, knowing they're doing something wrong.
Understood.
And when something is done to someone.
Correct.
And that's what happened in this case, in my understanding.
Yeah, I disagree with that, and I've actually.
If I'm wrong, tell me if I'm wrong. It was something that was done to the property, they were unable to keep up with what was being done to their property, is that correct? Things were being dumped there?
Well-
And graffiti was being put there? And so it wasn't a violator that owned the property and decided he was gonna do all these bad things, knowing that he was doing bad things. This is someone that was actually victimized, right?
Of course, yes.
Okay, so why hasn't your department settled that to something that, taking those, those mitigating factors into account?
I completely agree. I mean,
Okay, so-
I just wanted to clarify that in addition to the graffiti, just for the record, there
Okay.
were other violations, right?
Okay.
So junk and trash and openly stored, failure to maintain the lot in clean, safe condition. So it's not only graffiti. That's all.
But it's always that way, right? It's always that way.
Not always.
Yeah,
There are
you-
times that the respondent is victimized, right? Graffiti,
Right.
but there may be other things that attract the graffiti. It may be, again, openly stored trash and debris and other things. So
I think, Madam Chair, Commissioner, I think this is one of those cases that's a little bit different than some of the others that we've seen throughout our city, where you have people that are compulsive violators of our ordinances and our laws, and that do it purposely. In this case, I think it's a little bit different, and I think we have to have that flexibility, understanding that this is someone that's first victimized, and it's in an area that, it's not properly lit up, and it has not a lot of police protection. So, there's a number of factors that led to these violations. You can't have a policy that's across the board like that, because, not all cases are created equal, right? And some cases are different than others. In
Yes,
this
that is
case,
accurate.
I think a mitigation will be in order, will be fair. To pay $63,000 in fines plus on a $127,000 property, let's say it's $250,000, the real value, the real market value, it's it's pretty much excessive, in my opinion. So why doesn't your department just simply
and I
fix
have
it?
no objection to that. As a matter of fact, Commissioner.
Fix it and let them move on. They fixed a lien also. Is that true, that they have fixed an initial lien that was on it when they bought the property in 2014?
Yes, sir. So let me
Okay.
proffer this. If this was a case that we're going before mitigation, and it's a commercial property, because it is owned by an LLC, I would recommend an 80% reduction, somewhere along those lines. And that's about somewhere in the vicinity of $5,000. That's
How
what I
much?
would do. A 80% reduction is about 4,800. So I would say 5,000. I just proffer this from using it as a rule of thumb in other venues. That's what I would
So
do.
the fine right now is how much?
63,250.
So 8% of that is not what you said?
5,000.
$5,000?
Yeah.
63 minus 5.
No, sir.
No, reduce it to 8% of the fine.
Oh,
It's
to
5,000.
8%, oh.
That's what
So let's do that. That's what, I move that I move that we fine them $5,000 and let them move on with their property.
I have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
As amended?
As amended, $5,000.
5,000. Okay, could I state one thing for the record, though, just,
I would quit it with your head.
okay, fine.
That's what I would do
Thank
if I were
you.
you.
Thank you.
This is a little
Yeah.
advice, a little advice there, that's all.
For the record,
Take your money and run.
for the record, for future reference, I have voted with this motion because, as Commissioner Diaz-Liberty has said, this is a big difference in violation compared to other violations, which are the normal ones we get here, and the abuse combined with those. This is one that is a combination of graffiti that people are putting into the structure that was there, and the trash in the lot. Now, where you get all that trash is from the illegal dumping. So it's like graffiti. They didn't do it themselves. Now, the fact that they've taken so long and correcting it and so on is another thing. That's why we're hitting them with at least $5,000. But this is not one that it's like some of the outrageous ones that we've seen here.
Commissioner Reyes?
Yes, I have seen, and I know that all of us, we had witnessed cases like this, people that buy properties, and then those properties, they have either liens or they have fines that they don't find out. When Mayor Carollo appointed me to the zoning board many months ago.
Did I do that? You sure?
Yeah, man, you were crazy at the time, you appointed me.
He remembers.
He doesn't remember. Wait until he gets my age, he will never know his name.
I would remember your name then.
Okay. We encountered a lot of these problems, and I suggested at the time that legislation were enacted that in order for a person to be able to purchase or any real estate transaction requires a thorough investigation if before the closing, if the property had liens with the city, if they had all the constructions were legal. If not, they will have to legalize it and so on and so on. That was passed. But I think, I don't remember how, but I think that had taken away, it probably is because of the Board of Realtors that it was a mess for them. But I think that we should be thinking about that because it is not, I don't think that it is right for a person that comes with, the illusion of buying a house, and after everything is have the closing and all of that, here comes an inspector and said, listen, you have a violation here. And that violation was committed by somebody before. And once they get the money, you see, that then the person that purchased a big problem. And I think that it is our duty to do something about it. Madam City Attorney, could you go into that and try to...
I owe you a draft from this week for
Yes.
the recertification
That's
ordinance.
right, because
you
it is
requested.
not fair that a person, or an individual, a couple, whoever, buy a property that has violations on it, and then that person have to pay for the violation that was committed from the previous owner.
Yeah, but
Well, if I may, and
something got to be
if you
done.
if you can back me up, as I understand it, when you purchase a property to receive clear title, all of the liens on the property have to be cleared.
Yep.
So you do buy the property with notice. No one buys these properties
But not-
that doesn't have notice that they're
Right.
violations.
But not, let's say that you have an illegal unit. That is not clear.
No.
That's what I'm referring to. That is not clear. Then you're gonna be fined for it, and then you have to go through all the process. Let's say that somebody built an illegal unit, and they will purchase it with an illegal unit. They don't know it's illegal.
Well,
You see, I think that what I'm trying to do is that they have to be clear that all illegal units, all illegalities were corrected. And that was that previous legislation, what they did, required that any illegality have to be corrected before the sale took place.
If I may, Chair, what you stated is what I wanted to bring up, that when people buy a property, they get a mortgage. That has to be done, otherwise they're not going to get a loan. So they're going into it knowing exactly if the property has liens or not, and if there are liens, the lending institutions are going to make sure they're taken care of before they loan. Now, many of the problems that you have that he's referring to, it's not, a little old lady that's buying a property, doesn't know what they're doing, or some young couple that first home don't know what they're doing. No, that's not the case, because they get mortgages. Our savvy investors, many slumlords that come in and they see a low-hanging fruit. They see that a property owner owes so much money, and they tell them, look, I'm going to do you a favor. I'm going to give you so much, I'm not going to be able to do anything with it because you have so many liens. And then they went to the code enforcement board. They'll try to come here with alligator tears and wipe it out, and then they got themselves a heck of a deal. So when you have, like the commissioner mentioned, illegal units that are built, that's going to show up in the surveys that they're doing, that there's additional units that are not there. Now, if they do an illegal room that's already inside and they chop it up of the building,
Nobody knows.
anybody that buys a property knows, what has been done that shouldn't be in that case, in a property. But bottom line is that his concern is on properties that have existing liens. That's not, I believe, a legit concern for all of us up here, because anybody that goes into this the normal way, not to take advantage of somebody, they have to get a mortgage, they have to get a loan, and in order for them to get that money, all that has to come out. They have to do a full study on all liens. If you got additional structures that you're built, you're also going to see that it doesn't fall into the square footage that you have with the county. So there's going to be a question also that will come up. So.
And the exception I would add is when you inherit a property. You don't know that you're inheriting
That's true.
the issues. That would be the exception.
That is one exception, yes.
Because
I agree.
you're not buying the property, you're inheriting the property.
There's not many of those.
Right, not many. Ma'am?
And thank you all so much for the time and to be able to speak again. And I just wanted to say, Chairwoman, just to add to the situation, this property was inherited by Mr. Anderson. And there was a family member staying there. They did also employ someone by the name of someone Brown to cut the property, and they thought that was being taken care of. So we do understand that you guys want to keep your city safe and want to keep it looking great. Unfortunately, he just was not receiving those notices, and it didn't happen until he got the foreclosure action, and he did take action right then. Unfortunately, Mr. Anderson can't afford to pay an additional $25,000 right now, but could pay an additional $10,000 within 20 days, if that's acceptable to the commission.
What is the status of this property now? Is it mowed? Is it clean?
It's been demolished, and there was a lot clearing land.
Has it been kept that way for some time?
We haven't had any new recent cases,
Yeah, because what I don't want to see is that we take action here and the property's in that condition, and it goes back to it right tomorrow again.
Well, there was a structure on there, as they have indicated, and it has been cleared and it has been done. The plan is possibly to go ahead and move forward with selling the property. We intend to make sure, I have also talked to Ms. Roscoe about making sure that we have Mr. Anderson's proper address, so that if he does get those situations, they can be taken care of when they need to be. But it is the promise before the commission today that that property will not go back to be the same way.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
what, you agree with?
I will accept the $10,000 offer.
I think that's a fair amount. You are going to make a motion?
Do I have a motion?
You have a motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Motion
Aye.
carries.
Thank you all so much for your time.
You're
As
welcome.
amended?
As amended. RE3, is there anyone here to speak on behalf of RE3? Good morning, how are you? This is my district and I'm familiar with the facts of your issue. Have you proffered a settlement number with the city attorney's office?
Good morning, Daniel Tomargo on behalf of the property owners. We have
And that was?
$15,000.
And I believe in discussions, we were talking about $25,000 based on the facts of this case.
That's agreeable.
Can we get the facts, how much they owe in liens?
Yes, Rachel Dooley from the City Attorney's Office. In this particular case, you have two owners. It's not a corporation. Two individuals own it. It's an empty lot, a single-family home, but an empty lot. From 2015, there was a case opened with a trailer that was left on the lot, not put there by the owners. Obviously, somebody dumped it on the property. That case opened in 2015. It was not closed until 2022, which means it ran up to a total of $636,000. Now, from just reviewing overhead photographs, you can see the trailer disappeared sometime before that, but unless code gets called out, they don't go to comply. There was a 2018 case for failure to register the lot as vacant and to maintain it. That case was from 2018 and ran a lien up to $342,000. During that time frame, the city did go out and clear the lot and clean it, and that totaled almost $3,000 in liens for tickets and lot clearings, which they have paid in full. So they have paid, might be closer to $2,700 in those liens. They did file a suit against the city once they sort of realized what was going on, and these liens, part of the suit was a claim of lack of notice. The notice was, we're going to Andorra, which is a foreign country in Western Europe. And so they did propose.
I know where it's at.
They did propose a $15,000.
Well, they took my offer of $25,000.
Right, that's what I was going to say, and
How
I
much-
did send that to him yesterday, and we spoke briefly this
How
morning.
much is the amount that's owed there?
The total amount is just under $1 million.
And it's all because of that trailer.
The majority of it, yes, has to do with the trailer.
What else?
On that the 2015 case was only a trailer. That was it. There was nothing else.
And then what else has happened?
And then after that, in 2018, I guess it wasn't being mowed anymore. And so a case was opened up for that. And then after those years, occasionally the city went in and cleared the lot. They have paid those lot clearings in full. Again, that was almost $2,700. But for the 2018 case was registering the vacant lot as well as maintaining it.
All right, how much is the lot worth?
The lot's land value is $226,000. Its assessed value is $142,000. There's no structure on it.
All right, well, again, most of all of the infractions are not the type of infractions that we should have a concern about, which are the illegal constructions and then not caring, et cetera.
Commissioner, closer to the mic, please.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Bottom line is that these are minor infractions. just on the trailer that you mentioned, if someone would have gone to code, they could at least stopped a big chunk of it there because they took it out. The rest is done mowing the lawn. But see, the mowing of the lawn and this kind of stuff is what I'm going to be very picky on. That I don't want, if we give somebody a major break here, then we have to come back and go through the same thing again.
Right.
What is the status of that lot today?
It's clean and cleared. It's in good condition. They haven't had any issues since the owners, at this point, claim awareness. The lot has been managed.
Okay,
So
I'll
I
make
will
the motion.
to accept his 25,000.
I'll make the motion.
Second, all in favor? Aye.
And Chair, who was the seconder?
I was. And the reason why, because I don't believe not maintaining a vacant lot is a minor issue. It's a major issue when you live next door to it.
Yep.
And in District 5, there's many unkept lots, and I want to discourage vacant owners from not taking care of their property, because these are neighborhoods, they have neighbors, and they call me and they complain. It is just as important as illegal dumping and whatever when you live next to it. So thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, and I just wanted to confirm for the clerk that it's total.
Total, $25,000. That will conclude our resolutions, and now we have gotten to first reading ordinances. Madam City Attorney, can you read all of the titles into the record before we decide how we're going to take these items up?
Yes, Madam Chair, I just wanted to clarify the ones that I'm not reading.
FR
One.
1 has been withdrawn.
FR 5,
FR 5, FR 6, FR 29. I'm sorry,
FR 9.
FR 9.
And then
No, FR 9 has already,
been done.
right, FR 9 has passed already, and we have FR 10.
So I think the clerk is asking a question.
Yes.
So the first reading ordinances that are in play, FR 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, and 10.
Correct.
Can you go through that again, please, FR?
Yes, sir. As the ordinances that are left in play are FR 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, and 10.
And then, Madam Chair, if you'll just indulge me for a second, because I believe that the scooter ordinance for FR 3, there may be discussion and not necessarily voting. And I believe,
Well, it would still need to be read, and let's just read it into the record, because, to be prepared.
right, the thing is that when you read them into the record, then we technically have a first reading, and then that complicates like resetting and stuff.
Okay, here comes the sponsor. Do you want FR 3 only for discussion, or do you want her to read it into the record for consideration for voting?
I think we're going to defer it, but what I want to do is I want to have, just to make it clear for the next meeting that we have, is that I want to probably throw out the RFP that was done and redo an RFP. I'm going to try to recommend that to the body here and start from scratch and just kind of set better parameters. I want an expansion of the program to include the health district that I represent. I think it makes some sense there. I think Commissioner Russell, in his few days that he has left with us, wants it to happen in District 2 and continue to happen in District 2. So we limit the geographic, extent of it, but I want to add health. So I want to kind of throw out the RFP I'm going to recommend to the body on 1013. So I want to defer it till 1013.
Okay, so FR 3 is deferred. May I have a motion?
I move it.
Second,
Which item is this one again?
FR 3 to defer FR 2.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so FR 3 has been deferred, Madam Attorney. So,
And then
Can
if
I-
I could clarify?
Yeah, get clarification on defer to the next meeting?
1013.
1013.
If I could, Chair asked to withdraw FR6.
FR6, do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
All in favor?
Aye.
FR6 has been deferred until when?
Withdrawn.
Oh, withdrawn. That's been withdrawn.
Why are you withdrawing it? Don't they have you don't want to create a committee anymore?
Okay.
I frankly
You want to do it yourself?
I need to, well, if you let me, but I need to look at
I'll
this a
do a
little
pocket
closer.
item to have Commissioner Carollo name the stars.
Unfortunately, some of these have gotten away from me before I've reviewed them.
Okay.
With everything that I think you all know that I've been going through in the past few weeks.
Yeah, I know.
So I need to look at this closer. And since nothing's happened here for years, I don't think a little longer would matter.
In fairness, this was an indefinite deferral and it popped up on the calendar. So that's why the commissioner was surprised by this
All right,
because it just
yeah,
popped up.
I was
She's
surprised.
defending you. She's always defending you.
Yeah, but
Okay,
it's the
so-
truth.
Madam City Attorney,
You too,
we
then.
have FR2,
So, right, so FR2.
You're her favorite.
FR4,
FR4, then
FR7,
7,
FR8,
8.
FR10.
Yes. So I just wanted to clarify though, also FR4, I believe that Commissioner Reyes wanted to have a little bit of discussion about it. And I thought we talked about resetting it.
No, we're not going to reset that.
No.
So go ahead.
All right, FR2, an ordinance of the Miami City Commission with attachments codifying and supplementing the Affordable Housing Trust Fund as it previously established by resolution number 070203 by amending Chapter 18 of the Code of the City of Miami, Florida as amended titled Finance, more particularly by establishing a new Article 13 of the City Code titled Affordable Housing Trust Fund containing a severability clause and providing for an effective date.
Move.
FR4, I have,
Oh,
the
okay.
chair asked to read several of them. FR4, an ordinance of the Miami City Commission amending Chapter 36, Section 36-4 of the Code of the City of Miami, Florida as amended titled Noise, Operation of Radios, Phonographs, and Other Sound-Making Devices, Bands, Orchestras, Musicians generally, exemption, and Chapter 36, Section 36-5 of the City Code titled Noise, Same Hours of Operation of Jukeboxes, Radios, etc., exemption for events on city-owned property, relaxation to only accept city-sponsored events at city facilities or properties containing a severability clause and providing for an effective date. Then FR7,
May I ask questions about FR4? I have a couple.
When we finish, when she
You
finishes.
finish, okay.
then FR7, an ordinance of the Miami City Commission amending Chapter 23, Article 1 of the Code of the City of Miami, Florida as amended titled Historic Preservation, providing for further penalties and enforcement options for property owners that allow historically designated structures to decay to the point of requiring demolition, containing a severance clause, and providing for an effective date. I believe it has severability that needs to be amended. And then FR8. FR8, we may, between first and second reading, tighten the definition of intermodal to mean rail, that you have a rail option, but we'll clean that up between first and second. An ordinance of the Miami City Commission amending Chapter 31, Article 2, Section 31-51 of the Code of the City of Miami, Florida is amended titled Local Business Tax and Miscellaneous Business Regulations, Local Business Tax, BTR, food trucks operating on private land by providing for an exemption to allow food trucks in limited capacity as defined intermodal transportation areas containing a severability clause and providing for an immediate effective date. Intermodal transportation areas is what we'll tighten between first and second. And lastly, FR10, an ordinance of the Miami City Commission amending Chapter 2, Article 9, Section 2-779 of the Code of the City of Miami, Florida is amended titled Administration City-Owned Property, outdoor advertising signs on city-owned property to allow for outdoor advertising signs at Bayfront Park and Maurice Ferre Park and Virginia Key Beach Trust, that's an amendment, containing a severability clause and providing for an effective date. And the other amendment is confirming that they are not freestanding signs, but they're monument signs pursuant to Miami 21. That is the other amendment. Thank you.
We're going to take one by one?
Let's take one by one. FR2,
So moved.
do I have a motion?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
FR2 passes. FR4, the noise ordinance, I'd like to make a friendly amendment
I'll
to
second it.
FR4 to exempt temporary events such as Ultra and Magic Mike. Those occur on city property, but they're temporary.
But not only those
Those are
two.
already
But
included.
those are already included?
Yes, you do not
Okay.
have to make an amendment because those are not tenants and they're not leases.
They're not leases, they're not tenants.
Okay.
And they're
So that's
all on
events.
city property.
Okay, so motion second, all
I
in favor?
second. Aye.
Just
Hold on a second. On
discussion.
NFR4,
FR4.
I wanna ask a question because I am not too clear on it. When we lease any, like in Joya, in the lease agreement, don't we require them to have, certain noise control?
They have, previous leases do not have that, and we're working to do that going forward. But we do have sections that say, to comply with the city code as amended, which is what we're doing,
Because
amending.
what I'm afraid that this could hurt other areas too, you see, now, Bayside, for example, and they had reached and then to us and said, listen, this is going to hurt us. I don't know how stringent this is going to be and how that they can hurt us. I do understand the Venetian people cry because I have been on Joya and it is quite loud. But I'm afraid that this could hurt other tenants that we have. And I think that in my opinion, what we should do is place those noise requirements in, and make it official, those noise requirements in the leases. You include in the leases and you make them comply with whatever we decide that it is, how many decibels they can go. And
You're absolutely correct, and I know that we're working with Dream to do that going forward. However, we haven't done it in the past, and that's why we have our code provisions and our
then-
ordinances to fall back on. So that's why we're working with this. Remember that at the end of the day, ordinances are fluid.
Yes.
So if there's a problem that we need to address, we can definitely address it in the
Come
future.
back, if there's an unintended consequence, but I believe the vote was already taken.
wasn't.
It wasn't?
Just discussion.
Commissioner Russell?
Thank you. I echo Commissioner Reyes. I've been in touch with both Bayside and the downtown neighbors. We used to have issues with Bayside, but over the last 5-6 years, they've been incredible, and the Downtown Neighbors Alliance is supportive of them as a good neighbor. So I'd be open to exempting Bayside, because what we're creating is very strong for us, which is great.
That's right.
But it can have unintended consequences.
And that's what I'm afraid
If
of.
someone who's intending on investing in activation there has their investment at risk without having a clear roadmap for what qualifies as a violation, they're just not going to do it.
They're not going to do it.
Riverside is a perfect example. I wasn't in favor of closing them down. I was in favor of roping them in and finding peace between them and the neighbors. But because the way the code is written so much in our favor, good for us at times, they were just shut down by the zoning department, and there was nothing. There was 120 jobs lost overnight there. So I'd be open to exempting Bayside if it's the will of this body from this ordinance, but allowing it beyond that, because it
If we are working, through the chair, if we are working on legislation to make it, mandatory that every lease has a noise requirement on it, do we have to pass this now, and how they are going to go one against the other?
Chair, can I?
But we can't necessarily go tenant by tenant. That's why it's like an all or nothing approach on the city properties that we control, because we did take, to your point, you and Commissioner Carollo were instrumental in the
Yes.
decibels for ultra, right? So we did
Yes.
put that in the contract. So there are certain things that when they're on our city property, we could control. We can't control the tenants unless we pass an ordinance that treats them all uniformly.
Okay.
So
okay, I got
that's
that.
why we're a
So this
little,
is needed now, and then we.
and we'll address it if it
we
if it
address
does
when
the
come back.
unintended
Okay, that is
consequences.
more than clear.
Vice Chair?
Thank you, Chair. First of all, let me address Bayside. Bayside, as was previously stated here, has worked the kinks, whatever problems they had with the neighbors across the street in downtown, and there hasn't been any problems at a Bayside. So I really don't foresee this being an issue with Bayside. This is an issue of fairness, that the same ordinance that applies to every property owner in the city that's in private property will also apply to those that lease from the city. The only people that it won't apply to would be the city itself. But anyone that has properties, are leasing properties or subleasing properties, they would apply to. And you're putting everybody in the same level. As to the question on can we do it by putting it in a lease? Well, a lease is not enforced by code enforcement. Therefore, what it's going to do is going to give a free hand to whoever's a violator to keep doing it, because the lease could only be enforced by Dream through the city attorney's office, and we all know what is going to happen, that nothing will happen. It'll be in the lease, and it's not the same thing as code being able to go there and put a stop to it. So that's the reason this needs to pass, so that everybody's in the same level playing field.
I defer from Mr. Carollo. If we have something, whatever we have in a lease have to be enforceable. If not, hold on a second. If not, why are we included in a lease? I mean, if we have a lease with certain conditions and it is not enforceable, then that lease to me is not worth the paper it's been written on.
I could show you.
And hold on, George, I haven't finished yet. When I said, well, let's include it on the lease, so we have a document that makes whoever is the person that is signing that lease has to comply with it. And if that doesn't work, then we are in real trouble, because the lease is the document that gives us power on the tenant that we have. I understand that it's not going to, maybe it's not going to, I mean, people are going to look the other way, but the administration must make everybody that signs the lease comply with all the regulations.
So can I answer that question just on the lease reference, Commissioner? So you have a full understanding, and the law department can sort of either concur with this or not, but the attorneys in the room certainly will. The process to remedy lease language is lengthy. It's not immediate, right? Because you have to either have built-in default language in there. It takes forever to address issues like that. Speaking to the comment that Commissioner Carollo referenced, from the get-go, this was about creating an even playing field for everybody, right? Yep. So why should somebody who's a lessee of ours have an unfair advantage in terms of not having to comply with the noise ordinance, whereas everyone else does, right? So if I was a property owner or a lessee on a property that was privately owned, and I knew I had to adhere to the code, but city-owned properties don't, that really is an unfair advantage, right? And it's unfair to those that live nearby. I think that, creating the equality was the intent, right? And I think that was the whole purpose of this. and to not create a situation where we have city-owned properties that are creating a burden, right, on their surrounding neighborhood, and because we've created our own exemption as a result of that. So that was the whole purpose and intent of it.
Let me for the record, make it clear that I am not against leveling the playing field. You see, I agree with leveling the playing field, that everybody has to play with the same rules, okay? But I'm just asking questions that I think that will strengthen the regulation if we have, as one of the conditions for that the individual that is going to lease our land to comply with the noise ordinance, okay?
Okay, I believe we're ready to vote. Do I have a motion and a second?
Yes, there was a motion made by Commissioner Corroyo, seconded by Commissioner Diaz-Olvertia to vote on FR4 as is.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Unanimous?
It's unanimous. FR7, do I have a motion?
FR,
7.
I'll move it.
Do I have a second? It's demolition by neglect.
yes.
Have a motion and a second.
Seven.
All in favor?
Aye.
As amended?
As amended.
As amended. And that brings us to FR8.
Madam Chair,
Yes?
I have a concern with the language. It says that is any, what would say, intermodal transportation. An intermodal transportation, in my understanding, it is wherever you have a bus that is going by. And what I am afraid is the interpretation of the intermodal. For example, we have a development right here in 27th and US 1. Yet we have the train going by. We have a couple of buses that go by. That would be intermodal. So we will be allowing many food trucks to stay and settle there, and without having to be moved.
No, this
That
is...
is, please
Right, no,
clarify this for
right,
me.
no, this is for a particular purpose. There has been put in place the infrastructure for these 8 parking spaces by Brightline. Where you're talking about, they wouldn't have the infrastructure to go. They would have to put in all of the infrastructure to even be qualified for. And this is for a program to help minority businesses serve their business. Like the young man spoke today, he was in a program, and through that program, he got a food truck, and Brightline sponsored that food truck. So it's very specific and
For
particular.
Brightline?
Yes.
And why don't we make the specific bright line in the,
So this is what I was mentioning about tightening up the
Language
the
between first and
That's what I
second
want.
reading.
between first and second, but basically, it's going to require 2 ground rail train lines,
two?
is what it's going to be, to clarify that it is not
That you can
anything
just
else.
put it anywhere.
If not, they could be put anywhere.
Right, no,
I mean,
it's-
Calle Ocho, whatever.
Right, no, that's not the
Right,
intent.
so we'll clarify that between first
First
and
and second
second.
reading.
Okay, thank
Do
you.
I have a motion?
Motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Then, Madam Chair, I apologize, but for FR 7, I believe, we said as amended, the demolition by neglect, but I don't know that
There
we
was no
amended
amendment.
anything. I just wanted to clarify that one. I know that there's a lot of,
There was an issue with the title, severability, if I'm not
oh,
mistaken.
thank you, because I read severance, okay. Yes, so we'll change that. Thank you so much.
So we're now on FR 10. Do I have a motion?
Before we have a motion, I want some clarification on it too. I'm sorry that I came with
Okay.
I took my.
I'm going to
question-
let
question-
let's go in order. My vice chair,
Yeah.
do you have something?
I do. Madam City Attorney, do we have any other ordinance pertaining to this, or?
Right now, the ordinance that is here is your ordinance that has to do with Bayfront and Maurice Ferre Park. We just have to clarify that it is monument signs pursuant to Miami 21, and then the chair wanted to amend to add Virginia Key Beach Trust, as long as it is the same size, which is of the monument signs. It's not a problem, that minor
Right.
location, but it has to be the 20 by 20.
And it
Which
has
is
to-
pursuant
for-
to Miami
there's-
21.
There's additional for Virginia Key Trust. It has to comply environmentally, maybe it can't be so bright because we can't kill the sea turtles, this and that. But I want to give them an opportunity to be a part of it when the opportunity presents itself.
I have another question, numbers. Because it doesn't say it's going to be 3, 4, 5, and it is very open-ended. It could be, 10 signs, 20 signs, you see? It doesn't,
Well, it won't
what I
be.
read, it is open-ended.
You have to, by FDOT laws, you can only put one sign every 1,000 feet. So for instance, in Bayfront and Marie's Foray, the most you could put at Bayfront Park would be 3, or whatever size, and in Foray, it would be 2.
Okay.
I would imagine in Virginia Key, I don't know where you're planning on putting it, but, well, let me leave that, I think there's
Right.
only one there maybe, but
Right,
at the
so,
best.
okay. Do I have a motion?
Now,
That answered my question.
but, Madam Chair, and I'm trying to resolve this as amicably as possible. We deferred this from the last meeting to this one. It's another signage that's much bigger than the monument signs.
Right, that's not in this ordinance. This one was going to pass on first reading. If there's another proposal, that one requires a lot of Miami 21 tweaking because those sizes are not contemplated right
All
now.
Well, this is first reading.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
this is first
yeah.
reading for this.
this.
If-
Yeah, because what I'm trying to do is, if that's going to pass this commission, I'd like to have it all together so we could bring it, we can't, so it's.
No, we can't.
It would,
Right.
if there are other changes contemplated,
Commissioner?
that needs to be
Yeah, separate.
another first
Okay.
reading or separate.
Is that fine with everybody here?
Yes.
Well, because I have for the Omni CRA, and I think maybe for the Overtown CRA, a proposal to do some additional signage that I think will be beneficial, economically beneficial for the city. And my thinking along these lines was that we try to put it all together. And I was trying to do it in one fell swoop instead of trying to do it in pieces. But if you feel comfortable passing it today,
I like keeping the parks separate from anything else. So I like keeping the parks together, and then we'll move on to,
The only difference here, so we could all understand this correctly, the monuments can only be 20 by 20, 400
right,
square feet.
right. I understand this.
The issue here is that other signs, one more that a different entities proposing in Bayfront Park, I believe at one of the museums, they're proposing one facing the expressway. And then I believe at the Opera House, they're proposing one there. These are bigger than 20 by 20. I thought-
At the Adrian Arts Center.
Yeah,
Right,
Adrian
the
Arts,
arch,
yeah.
the PAM.
Yeah, when
Yeah,
this
Pam.
was deferred last meeting, I thought it was to put everything together in one ordinance, but.
Yes, we were
apparently,
trying to,
you know,
but
the
we,
city attorney
Right.
has got some issues. I don't know if that could be resolved.
We have a meeting today at 3 o'clock to try to resolve those issues. That's why we just kind of ran out of time.
Well-
Because the city attorney raised some concerns, and I've requested a meeting with the city manager and the city attorney and signage, the road, and everybody else to try to get there. But if we want to keep it separate, we'll do it separate. I'm okay with that, too. I
Okay,
mean,
but
that's,
do you think this could possibly be resolved this afternoon?
I think
So
so.
then we could
So this is,
Amend
this
the
is,
ordinance if need be?
right, so this is the only concern. Right now, this one is compliant with Miami 21. The other great suggestions have to amend Miami 21. And that's the difference. You have to make
Well, that's
bigger
not true.
signage.
That's not true because we don't know, you don't know what those are. And you don't know what the compromises that will occur when we sit down and talk this afternoon. So you don't know where we're gonna go with that,
Okay.
right?
So
So we haven't had the opportunity to have that conversation, right?
We have not. I'm just telling you that this ordinance.
I don't want to delay the commissioner's proposal. I think it's important, and I think it's a good thing to do.
So we're gonna-
Hold on, let me finish. And if you want to move it forward, I'll support you. I just want you to help me and us move forward, something else we want to do in those areas. So I think,
Look, I'll say it on the record, I have no problem in approving from this body the additional request that will come.
yeah, I think it's important for revenue generation.
Well, that's part of it, and this is not noise
Right.
related.
Exactly.
That has caused a problem for many of our areas. And putting something that's reasonable in size within 1,000 feet apart, you know, it's not like the palmetto that you see a sign every few hundred feet.
So I'll move FR 10.
And I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
And Chair, I'm sorry, Madam City Attorney, did you want to make any amendments in between first and second reading, or are we making any amendments on first reading?
We've amended on first reading, as I stated, and then they'll be in the second reading legislation.
I have a little concern with all this because although those are LED signs, right?
Yes.
You see, I don't want us to become another Vegas.
No.
There's gonna be a bunch of
No,
them.
not by 20 by 20.
I'm just giving you this, I mean, it's food for thought. Just try to picture how it's gonna be and how many can we have and how can they affect the environment and the residents. That's what I wanted you to.
Based on what you described, we can talk with the sponsor about the limits, just to be clear,
Okay.
and go from there.
Now, it is noon. Mr. City Clerk, do we have any board appointments that you can?
Yes, BC1, Planning, Zoning, and Appeals Board, Commissioner Diaz de la Portilla will be appointing Mercedes Rodriguez with a 4/5 employment waiver.
Move.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That concludes the boards and committees.
That concludes the boards and committees. Now, let me hear from my colleagues. We have discussion items left, and then PZ. Would you like to take the discussion items? Well, it's
After
1 and 3. We only have 2, 1 and 3. Do you want to take them after lunch?
After lunch.
After lunch.
I think,
Okay.
I think it's
All right.
unanimous.
So, and we are going to, because we have a long day today, and I believe that there's some preparation that we need to do in between our commission meeting and our budget hearing, we're going to take a longer recess and come back at 3 o'clock.
And at 3 o'clock, we can have the CRA meeting, which will last
There are
seconds.
2 CRA meetings, so.
Yeah, so 5 minutes from
Right,
Oh,
so
man.
prior to coming back, we'll do the 2 CRA meetings, finish the
No, at
commission
3,
meeting.
we'll do them at 3. We'll,
3 o'clock,
Yeah.
What
yes.
time do we come back?
3 o'clock.
3.
And Chair, will we start with Omni CRA first?
Ladies first.
Southeast Overtown Park West, understood.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. The commission meeting is now in recess until 3 o'clock.